Hey, I wanted to try and send out at least one video that's easier for me to put out, doesn't require as much editing. I just finished, well, sort of just finished a few days ago, the weapons video, and that's on YouTube now, on this channel, where I go over the weapons and the traits and the alternate fires, and I'm working on a video that deals with the tower enemies. All the enemies that appear in the tower, including their HP, how much damage they do, attack patterns, things like that. But in between those, just so I don't have super long stretches without putting anything out there, I thought it might be fun if I just do certain runs of the tower, serious runs. I'm giving it full effort. So in this case, the idea is that I'll pick a weapon. In this case, it's modified sidearm, since it's the first weapon and I would just go through the tower only using the modified sidearm. Obviously, if I do this in the future, I would pick a different weapon, and you start with the modified sidearm, so I would just use the modified sidearm until I find the weapon I need. In this case, since the starting weapon is the weapon I am doing the run with, I will just keep using my starting weapon until I find a better version of the sidearm. So I'm doing full effort in these runs. This is me talking over a recording, so this isn't like me live reacting to it. I've already done this. So I'll talk over what I'm doing here and my sort of strategies and thoughts as I was going through it, and hopefully you guys find it interesting. All right, so the first room, there's only usually 5 or 6 enemies. What you're going to be seeing me do a lot, especially early in the tower, I'm not really going to use my sidearm very much, except usually to stop my multiplier on the right over there from going down. So you can see I shoot them every now and then to stop the multiplier from going down until I feel like there's a good moment to go in for the melee hit. And almost always, if I am going for melee, I'm going to try to jump in melee, because the number of points you get for doing an aerial melee kill is much higher than just killing them with a weapon without hitting the weak point. For smaller enemies, it's 10 times higher. That difference isn't as big for larger enemies, but it's still a huge difference no matter what. Just 10 times, I think, is about as big as it gets. So you actually saw the first weapon I found in the second room, which always gives you a new weapon, was another modified sidearm. I believe this one has snub nose barrel. It's not my favorite weapon trait, but it got 3 stats in it. I think they were evenly distributed: 1 damage, 1 overload projectiles, and 1 fire rate. So it's a little better in all of those fields. Plus I get snub nose barrel, so I got a little bit less accurate, but I do a little more damage. So like the base pistol, for example, does 11.5 damage per shot, and if I see myself shooting here, I can compare the damage with 1 damage modification plus a snub nose barrel. I believe it's going to be around 13 damage, maybe 14. And if there's decimals in there, it's hard to tell unless you shoot them multiple times, and then you can divide it out. Yeah, I think that was 13 damage for the shot. So, you know, from 11.5 to about 13, maybe 12.5, maybe 13 and change. It's a pretty good addition. But you're still seeing me here, even fighting these gyropods. I am just going around meleeing everything. This early in the tower, it's almost just because it feels wrong not doing it, but honestly my multiplier is so low, it's only around 4 right now, that I could just kill them however I wanted to and move on. Because the points I get here really make almost no difference later in the tower. There are floors that can give you over 1 million points each if you approach them correctly. So like getting a couple tens of thousands of points out of this isn't really a huge boon for me. I might fast forward this part if I stand still too long. Oh, never mind, I started moving right away. Okay, so what are those things they're called? I forgot what they're called. The name is barely visible on screen, though, like pyloids or something. The enemies that just float around and they're white and they just run away from you. If you kill them within a few seconds, you'll get this portal, which is pretty much always beneficial. Even if it leads to an enemy, you pretty much want to take it anyway, because it will lead to a malformed enemy, which always drops good stuff. But most of the time, you're just going to get a room that has items in it or something like that. In this case, I get a choice between the shield and the large health vial. I'll take the large health vial because I'm going to max out on shields going up the tower eventually anyway, and I'll explain eventually why I don't use my shield right away. I will say that shield item you see that I have equipped, or not equipped, as a consumable on the bottom left, you can hold up to 5 of those, and if you pop them, you can pop as many of them as you want. They will stack, so you can stack more than 5 of those types of shields. Whereas Resonance Shield, when I get the artifact later in the run, and I will get it, you can only have one shield from a resonance shield active at once, and as well as the shield, my adrenaline shield, which I currently have. On the bottom, you can see the last icon below my adrenaline is a little shield icon, so I get one free hit from that where I don't take any damage, and it won't reset my adrenaline. So you only get one of those active at once, but the shields you can get as many as you want. Now, my logic behind not using the shield items, when I first went through the towers, I would just use them right away because I thought it doesn't really matter. You can stack as many as you want, and it'll leave room for other items. Because right now I am eating one of my 3 item slots, which is a sort of a trade-off. Because I would like to have the 3rd item slot for something other than shields. Because right now I have shields, and I'm gonna have disgorgers, and I'm only gonna have 1 item slot for anything else I want. Anyway, the logic behind me holding on to those items is 2 reasons. I just lost my adrenaline shield. 2 reasons. When you get the resonance shield item, when you get hit and you have a resonance shield on, so I'll point out when I find the artifact. It's probably, oh, there it is. Right, so I just got the resonance shield. So anytime I pick up a resin, which is the health that upgrade your max health, so they don't actually heal you. Instead, if you get 3 of them, and you can see the indicator on the bottom left, you'll get a max health upgrade. Usually all health drops turn into a resin instead, if you're a max health. If you're not at max health, usually resin drops are health items instead. So right now that I'm max health, pretty much every health item I find is going to be a resin item, so it will upgrade my max health. Now, whenever I find one of those, it's also going to give me a shield, and you'll see it because it's going to be called, on the left side, it's going to be called resonance shield. It shouldn't take too long for me to find one. I mean, I can see a health drop right there. Hopefully I'll pick it up. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, here I am trying to get aerial kills on low. There we go. So on the bottom left, you can see resonance shield. So getting another resin won't stack that. I only have 1. But so this ties into the reason why I don't want to use too many shield items. When you do take a hit and you have more than 1 shield on, the shield that it takes from you seems to be random. So if I was to pop my regular shield item, now when I take a hit, I might lose the shield item or I might lose a resonance shield item. Either way, I don't take damage, but the point is I don't want to lose the regular shield item when I could have lost a resonance shield item instead. The resonance shield item is easiest to replace because if you lose it, because you can't stack it more than once. So like picking up more than 1 resin is worthless for the purposes of gaining an extra shield. But if I lose that shield and I find another resin, I can replace the shield and there's no harm done essentially. If I lose the shield on me, the non-resonance shield, just the shield item shield, then I'm essentially not going to get that shield back. I might have more than 1 shield item, but that's 1 usage I just used up. The other reason why I don't want to use too many of my shield items is I'm more or less saving them for when you get higher up the tower. Eventually enemies start doing insane amounts of damage, even with high protection. And protection is a whole other can of worms. I'm not really sure how that calculation works exactly. My initial thought is 100% protection will either half the damage you take, or it will reduce all the damage you take to 0. It doesn't do either of those. It reduces the damage you take by more than half, so you take less than half the damage you would normally at 100% protection, but it doesn't take away all the damage. So maybe there's a piece of all damage you take that just pierces protection, and that way the developers found a way to stop yourself from just taking 0 damage in certain instances. Anyway, if you go up the tower and you don't have very, very high protection, and some of the protection is sort of left up to luck. It depends on if you have the right parasites. 50% of it will come just from the protection stats you can buy. Although at first the only stats they give you are the integrity stats and the damage stats. Once you max out one of those 2 stats, they'll start giving you the protection stat you can buy. Once you do start seeing the protection stat, you can buy 5 of them. Anyway, if you don't get above those 5 protection stats, usually through parasites, somewhere around 70 to 90, preferably around 90 if you can, or higher, with other ways to increase your protection, which is how you get above 100%. Then upper floors of the tower start doing just ludicrous damage to you. So my purpose of holding onto the shield is I want to save those shields as much as possible for when instead of taking damage from a hit, I'd just rather pop a shield. If I'm about to die, I'll pop a shield, and then that way I don't have to worry until I take another hit. Especially since Selene has a little bit of a vulnerability window. Even if you get hit with your shield on, if it pops your shield, then you have plenty of time to just select another shield item and use it again. So that's sort of my logic. You can see me here very quickly just going for the damage upgrades, which are like the spiky stat augment items I keep picking up. The reason for that is because you can only get four damage upgrades, and then you'll go up to 40%. Yeah, I was trying to shoot that guy to stop him from firing his lasers. I kept missing. Once you get up to 40% damage increase through stat increases, you can get more than that through like, there, I got hit again. You can get more than that through other means like parasites and such, or artifacts. But you won't get any more stat upgrades once you have 4 stat upgrades for damage. Whichever stat you max out first, whether it's health or damage, it will replace all instances where you would get that stat up with the protection stat instead. So if you get full, yeah, this is not a great floor. If you get full health, then the health drops will then be replaced by protection drops, which looks exactly the same, they just call something else. Or if you get full damage, then the damage ones will get replaced by protection one. Since you only need 4 damage upgrades to reach max damage, and because protection, I feel like, I'm not sure if I'd say it's the most important stat, but it really hurts if you don't have shields, although you are often running through the tower, or at least when I play, I often do have a shield active. It really hurts if you don't have a shield on, and you're high in the tower, and you take a hit. So that's sort of my purpose of taking all the damage I can. I only have to buy 4 of them, obtain 4 of them, however I get them. And then I can start increasing my protection, and get up to that 50% protection really quickly. And then from there, I have to hope for other means of increasing my protection further. Since I'm using a sidearm for this run, I won't be able to increase my protection through a weapon trait, because the sidearm has no protection increasing traits. There are 4 weapons that do, but sidearm is not one of them. Yeah, not doing so great at it. It's the Titan Ops. Fun fact: early in the tower, those big enemies, the one I just killed, are just Titan Ops, and then later in the tower, they all get replaced with Proto Titan Ops. The major difference between the two, and I'm still looking at footage to find full attack patterns, but the major difference between the two is that when the Titan Ops is staggered, it's just staggered, and when the Proto Titan Ops is staggered, it gets a shield around it. So you might have saw me stagger that enemy earlier, and the shield didn't pop up. So anyway, that's sort of my logic behind the shield items. That was sort of a long tangent on that, but I sort of want to explain the logic behind that. You'll start seeing me now not worry about killing certain enemies in the air. The reason being, harder enemies do give you more points. Somewhat marginal more points, not a ton. If I'm in a good situation to kill an enemy with an aerial kill, and they're a tougher enemy, I will do it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to kill enemies with aerial kills, especially if they don't die with one hit. I'll pretty much always go out of my way to kill like drones and turrets with an aerial kill, and most aerial small enemies with aerial kills, especially since they all died in one melee hit anyway. But if I find like a big dog enemy, or those Titan Ops, or those floating Machina enemies, I'm not going to concern myself too much with it, because killing, it's a good way to destroy your run by constantly getting hit if you're trying to fish for aerial kills too much. I don't have the skill necessary to get the perfect instances to always get aerial kills and maximize my points. So rather, I'll use my weapon. So I'll just snipe them off really quick, and many instances it's just easier to kill the bigger enemies that way rather than worrying about, oh wow, technically a melee aerial kill gives me tons more points. Yeah, but there's not as many of those enemies. And if you're fishing for melee kills for enemies that don't die in one melee hit, or not well positioned to die in a melee hit, then you're really just asking to get sort of attacked from all sides. Because one nice thing about the tower, or Returnal in general, is that, yeah, I'm not doing too well on Albus. Unfortunately, I really need a better pistol. This is still the second pistol I found, or the first pistol I found after the starting pistol. So it's just taking a long time to kill Albus, so I'm fighting forms that I don't usually have to bother fighting. Anyway, I'd rather, back to the enemy piece, I'd rather just kill enemies quickly, use my gun, kill the enemy quickly, and then worry about the smaller enemies to the best of my ability, and kill them with a melee hit, because that'll still do really good stuff for your points than just killing everything with your gun. But at the same time, I'm not sacrificing a ton of efficiency or a ton of time to just kill enemies with melee. Fun fact, you saw me jump there before I got a permanent malfunction from Algus. If you're standing on the ground when you get the permanent malfunction, it takes Selene a long time to get up. If that permanent malfunction wave from Algus hits you while you're in the air, Selene just gets up very quickly. Not sure why the difference is there, but I usually just jump before it hits me just so I can get up and keep moving faster. It doesn't actually help you with a run or anything, it's just so you're not sitting there watching Selene get up slowly. After you defeat Algus, you'll get one of those permanent upgrades. It's either going to be health or protection, but it's going to be health until you max up your health, and then once you max out your health, it'll become protection. I don't know if it ever changes to damage, assuming you somehow max out health and protection before damage. Maybe it'll switch to a free damage upgrade. I've never run into that situation. I don't imagine I ever will, because my protection is usually my first stat to get maxed out. Anyway, at this point in the run, I'm pretty much committed to my 3 item slots being 1 for shields, 1 for large health upgrades, and 1 for my disgorgers. Unfortunately, I always have to save a slot for disgorgers, just because you get so many of them. You'll see later in the video, I'm not the best about using my items. I'm kind of a hoarder, which definitely doesn't help my runs. You know, throwing runs because I had the tools to deal with the situation and just didn't use them isn't great. Although the current disgorger I have, it's always a red item, which it'll color in a second. So that red item, those are the disgorgers. The way it works is that there's 4 disgorgers in the game. I think the names are Quad Swarm Disgorger, which is one I currently have. The Dire Beam Disgorger. No, sorry. The one I have right now is the... no, I think it is Quad Swarm Disgorger. I think is what it's called. Dire Beam Disgorger. Absolution Disgorger. And then one more that name I can't remember. But I know what it does. I just don't remember the name right now. Anyway, there's 4 disgorgers in the game. And I would argue 3 of them are good. And 1 of them is very bad. The one I have right now is very bad. It's still worth collecting, because if you find a different disgorger, so you can see I have 2 of them right now. If you find a different disgorger, it will change all your disgorgers to that type and add 1 more. So if I find an absolution disgorger, for example, the symbol will change, so you'll know it's a different disgorger. And then I'll have 3 of all that new type of disgorger. So whether I find this Quad Swarm Disgorger, which I really don't like, or not, I'm still going to pick them up. Especially this early in the tower. I'm not really going to be using disgorgers this early in the tower. So pick them up, stack as many as you can, and then later in the tower when you need them, you'll have plenty to choose from. I mean, you'll have not to choose from, you only get the one that you have, but you'll have plenty to use without having to worry about running out quickly. Unfortunately, I think the Quad Swarm Disgorger is quite bad. Which is, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, you can see now I'm getting protection and integrity augments. That most likely means my damage is maxed out. Sometimes they give it to you before your damage is maxed out, and then they'll give you the damage one later. I don't know why that happens sometimes, but for the most part, once your damage is maxed out, then they'll start giving you protection instead. So you can see I took a protection augment, so my protection should now be at 10%. Anyway, I should start actually focusing on my run at this point with the gun, since that is the point of this video. I got a new sidearm that has burst fire. I think it has burst fire and snub nose barrel. I don't know what the third trait is. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention. It might be ricochet. I'm trying to think. Does ricochet? No. Well, no, you can't. I don't really know. I can't remember which traits are possible to get. I have one for the first 3 tiers for sure, because I definitely got this weapon before level 15. I believe one of them is burst fire for sure, because you can see it, and I believe one of them is snub nose, but it might not be. Anyway. This is a much better weapon than my low tier snub nose barrel weapon. You can see me here when you get to these rooms with 3 doors. There are a few arrangements of these, and each arrangement has a different pattern. Like that room's arrangement was disgorger, weapon, artifact from left to right in that order. The pattern of that room determines which doors start closing off to you in what order. That room that I saw there, the disgorger weapon, disgorger on the left, weapon in the middle, artifact on the right room. The door that starts closing first is the weapon door, then the disgorger door, then the artifact door on the right. The reason why it's good to know this, and it's very hard to do in some cases, but if you know what order they're closing in, you can get 2 of those doors before you're locked out, because you can go for either the first or second one that closes, leave that one right away, get the item, leave right away, and go for the last door that's closing. Usually you pretty much have to, you don't have to always, sometimes you can get a different one, but it's easiest to go for the door that's closing last as your second door. Sometimes you can get the second to last door as your second door, but the point is, you saw me there. I got the Disgorger, and I tried to run out and try to get the artifact. I didn't make it in time. I believe that one is possible, although I find that one more difficult than others. There are other setups to that room where you get, for example, Disgorger shield health or Disgorger Obolites health. The Disgorger Obolite health one is the easiest one to get 2 on. I can pretty consistently get 2, especially if you go for Disgorger first and Obolite. Anyway, that's not what's on screen now, so it's probably confusing to hear me talk about that. But the point is, those rooms you can get 2 items in those rooms. Especially since the arrangement of what items are in those rooms determine on what order the doors start going up. So you can know with certainty what order you should be tackling them if you just memorize the different rooms that are there. These enemies here, they always have 100 health no matter what. That never actually goes up, which is nice because almost every enemy in the tower except for them and the sort of health regenerating towers always, I believe those are the only 2, always have the same amount of health. I mean always increase with health. Those are the only 2 that have the same amount of health no matter what. So because they have 100 health, they'll die in 2 melee hits, or 1 melee hit if you have a level 3 Blade Harmonizer on Electropile and Tower, which I won't have in this run obviously because I'm using Sidearm. But they'll die in 2 melee hits, which is very nice because those enemies give you among the highest points in the game. So, you know, a free, high amount of points for an enemy that can't even counter you. You just have to go up to it, melee it twice, or shoot it a couple times and melee it once, however you want to do it. Just try to jump before you get those melee kills. You can see me trying pretty hard to get melee kills on these dogs, which is sort of dangerous to do. This is the kind of stuff I warn you not to do. Like you see, I just got hit there. But you know, I'm human. I get greedy sometimes. I want the extra points. For these tripod enemies here, like these are enemies that die in 1 hit. So yeah, just run up to them, melee them. You see me sometimes shooting a lot, and you probably even see me do it early in the video. I will sometimes shoot at the ground a lot, especially if I have more than 1 adrenaline. So I can send out my little homing shots that do essentially no damage. They do 2 damage each. So there, he took 10 damage because there's 5 of them. I do that so that it resets the cooldown or the multiplier running out. As long as you're hitting an enemy, your multiplier won't go down. And if an enemy is really far away, sometimes I'll try to shoot them, or just hit them with the homing shots, and then finish them off the melee. And because it takes so long sometimes to run up to an enemy if they're all the way across the map and they're the only enemy available to you to hit, I'll just sometimes do that little quick trick. Just shoot at the ground, assuming you have adrenaline. Let your adrenaline bullets hit them, and then your multiplier will stop going down. You can see me, because my gun is weak enough, I'm hitting those recovery towers a couple times. I'm trying to only hit them with some of the bullets because I think all of them would kill it. Hit them with some of the bullets, and then go up to the melee it, so I can just get the extra points from those healing towers. These flying enemies, the Aetheract, I believe they're called. They are 1-hit melee kills, but they are probably the most annoying 1-hit enemies. Them and the drone enemies are sort of a coin flip on which one's more annoying. The problem with these ones, they like to fly very high. They'll swoop down like this one sort of sometimes, but sometimes they'll just float so high in the air that at times I just lose my patience and I just kill them with a gun. It can be very hard to get them to come down sometimes, especially in certain rooms. Their AI seems to be messed with to the point that they just decide to fly 30 miles in the air. So you either have to you just keep pelting them with little homing shots until they come down, or just say screw it and kill them and move on. In this room, I actually decided to buy both the health upgrade and the protection upgrade, which normally I don't do that. I normally, especially the health upgrades, I just leave them alone because health isn't usually something I care about, but I thought, hey, I have the money, why not? I think I end up regretting a little bit later. Money is never a problem for me, and I mentioned this in my other video, but doing things like that does make it a problem for me. Unfortunately, those are 2 pretty good guns I just passed up, but I'm going for the pistol only, so I have to. The artifact I just picked up is the alt fire coolant. This will reduce your cooldown for the alternate fire by 1 second per your adrenaline level. So my adrenaline level right now is 3, so you can see on the left, alt fire cooldown reduced times 3. So really my alt fire, which I haven't really been using at all, cools down 3 seconds faster. I have the horizontal barrage, which is a 20-second cooldown, so effectively it's going to cool down in 17 seconds. Or 16 seconds, because this is an F4. And once I get it up to my adrenaline's at 5, it has a 15-second cooldown, which is pretty tremendous. You know, it's 25% of its cooldown just gone. And since you're so often at maximum adrenaline, especially because of the way shield items work, and you can see I have 5 shield items now, so the next time I find a shield, I'll have to use one before I pick up another one, because I can't hold more than 5 shield consumables. Because you have shields so often, and getting hit with your shield on will stop your adrenaline from going down. Even though you start getting hit a lot, sometimes you're still going to be at maximum adrenaline. So, you know, I think the adrenaline coolant artifact's quite good. Accidentally killed that thing. Yeah. Especially if you're bothering to use the alt fire, which I'm not right now because again, this is still early in tower. I still consider phase 2 and to some degrees phase 3 pretty early in tower. You can see I go for the melee kill there, and that explosion is so scary. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm just gonna kill him with the gun. Unfortunately, the broken automatons, which is what these enemies are, all they do is go up to you and explode. And when you kill them, they explode too. So they kind of just, if you're gonna go for the melee kill, you're putting yourself in a situation where you can get hit more easily. So it's probably best just to shoot them. They don't have a weak point, so you can't aim for the weak point to get extra points, unfortunately. But it is what it is. These rooms are very nice. I probably ran into a couple of these, but these are sort of like hybrid rooms where they have both enemies and items, guaranteed items. Like this one always has a small health drop for you, a small health consumable that you can use. But the nice part about these rooms is that they have enemies that you can kill at your leisure because your multiplier in these rooms don't go down. There's a couple other rooms room setups that are like this. But the point is, you can see my multiplier on the right. Whether I hit anything or not, it's not going down, so I can take all the time in the world I want to get the melee kills. I don't have to. Yeah, that one I shot with my gun because it was about to hit me. But other than that, I don't have to. I can hide behind cover and just wait for the opportunity to get a melee kill. I can take my time. My points are not going to suffer for it. Yeah, those freaking beam enemies. Those are the Strixia enemies, the ones with the beams that shoot at me. There's actually 2 forms of them. There's the Strixia, which is what I'm fighting now, and the Proto-Strixia, which look identical but have 2 different attacks. I'm covering what I'm going to cover in the video, but point is, they look identical, but the Strixia enemies have like the blue 2-path bullets that they fire, or the beam that they'll fire, and then the Proto-Strixia have 2 different attacks. One is a different kind of beam that they aim at the ground and then it angles upwards, and then they have a sort of a red wave attack. Knowing which one you're fighting actually doesn't matter. The Strixia, which is one I was just fighting, I think is considerably easier to deal with. The Proto-Strixia, which looks exactly the same, but you can tell which one's which by which attacks they're using, or if you hit them and you have like godlike eyesight and you can read the little name next to the health bar, which is almost impossible to read, then you can tell that way too. Here I am just looking for more weapons, so I got an Absolute Scourger, so that replaced all mine. That's not a sidearm, so I don't even have to read it. I'll take the weapon I have, which is just still the same modified sidearm. Hopefully I'll find a better one soon, because, you know, I'm finding much higher level weapons than my current one, but I can't take them because they're not sidearms. Yeah, unfortunately, playing this way means only 1 in 10 weapons, on average, will be weapons that you can use, because there's 10 weapons in the game, and I can only use the sidearm. It also means that if you get a really bad trade combination that you don't want, and the sidearm, more than most guns, is prone to that, certain trade combinations that I actually just would pass up almost no matter what. It also means that I might just not take that weapon and just stick with a lower level weapon. So yeah, you know, every time I find a weapon, it's probably like a 7 or 8% chance that it's actually something I want, and every other time it's no good. So you can see again, these guys fly high in the air. Almost every single time I hit one, I'll shoot at the ground. Like you keep seeing me shoot on purpose. Again, you see my multiplier almost running out, and sometimes running out a little bit for a little bit of time. But points, I'm trying to minimize how long my multiplier is allowed to decrease by just constantly shooting, letting little homing shots hit them. Normally, I actually think those homing shots are kind of a hindrance, especially once you get the permanent malfunction. The 5th permanent malfunction, which is always the same one, but still, it's very nice for keeping your protection or for keeping your, not protection, what am I saying? For keeping your multiplier up. I'm just looking to see which parasites I already had, which were none. And I was choosing between which of the 2 parasites I wanted. Those rooms, which is, I would say those rooms are the biggest factor for what can make or break a run. You have to take 1 or 2 parasites. You don't have a choice. You can't just not take a parasite. I mean, the parasite I got, I think is good. I think it's better. I think it is more beneficial than it is detrimental, which is essentially a 20% damage increase. It's essentially what it does. The actual description is a little bit more nuanced than that, but you can just think of it as 20% damage increase for your weapon, not for your melee. In return, I lose 5 seconds, or my ult 5 cooldown takes 5 seconds longer to recharge. Which right now at max adrenaline actually bounces out with my adrenaline coolant artifact. So right now my ult fire is just back to the base 20 seconds because I'm losing 5 seconds cooldown because of my adrenaline coolant, and I'm adding 5 seconds cooldown because of the parasite. Anyway, the actual parasite read something like, for every room you clear, increases your weapon damage by 2%, up to a maximum of 20% increase. Now, that's essentially just a 20% increase because that's actually backwards. It actually goes back and looks at the rooms you already cleared. Any enemy rooms you already cleared, I believe, is how it goes. And then just applies it to that. So at this point in the tower, I probably already cleared at least 10 enemy rooms. So you just get the 20% increase instantly. And pretty much anytime you find that parasite after phase 1, it's just a 20% increase. Yeah, I don't really know why they wrote it that way. I don't know. Well, yeah, interesting physics there. I don't really know why they have parasites that work that way. There's one for protection as well that essentially does the same thing but increases your protection by up to 20%. Because whenever you find out after phase 1, it's just a 20% increase, period. Anyway, moving on. I think I recently got the Wound Seeker artifact, which is nice. I'm not going to get into detail on that, but it can increase your damage up to 30%. Or by 30% when enemies are almost dead. You know, it's a small damage increase, and it actually works in your melee, which is what actually makes me like it. Because almost nothing works on melee. Melee is kind of its own thing. You can still see me here, especially with my current gun. It's easy for me to shoot these mycomorphs, which is what these green dudes are called. Shoot them once, then go up to them and get the melee kill. Especially since shooting them once stuns them, or staggers them, and then my melee will do 3 times the damage because they're staggered. It's just a property of the melee. So, in this room, in this case, it was easy for me to get the melee kill on enemies that don't die in one hit. But again, I don't want to go crazy doing that kind of stuff. I'm about to fight Algus again. Algus phase 2, or I guess phase 1 plus 2, which is what it effectively ends up being. See if I get a good weapon. I do not. So charging shot, burst fire, stun nose barrel. Okay, I should have realized I had charging shot. So yeah, because I have charging shot, my shots don't just come out right away. Instead, they have to charge for like a second, maybe like a half second. I think it's about a second, and then they come out. They do much more damage, but I'm not the biggest fan of charging shot, even with good synergies. But it is more damage, and you can see like this version of Algus, because this first health bar is essentially fighting the same Algus I fought before until you get to the second health bar. I don't know if this has more health or does more damage, but as far as attack pattern goes, it's the same. You can see how much more quickly I'm wearing down this version with a better gun. And this gun is still very, very weak. I'm level 35, and I have like a level 15 gun. I don't know exactly what level it is. So the stats are very low. My traits can't go past tier 2. So it's not a great gun. So anyway, here's form 2. Algus isn't very hard, if I'm being honest, ever for me. You know, like anyone, you can have bad runs where Algus just ends up hitting me way more than I feel like they should. And I guess the first time I saw Algus in this video, it probably looked like I was having trouble, although not usually that bad against Algus, even when they're flying around like that. You can see, like, I don't really get hit very much on Algus, and I'm pretty sure this would happen for anyone who plays the tower enough. The challenge comes from... I'm sorry, I bumped the microphone there. Hopefully I didn't come through too hard. The challenge comes mostly from the non-Algus floors, I would say. Especially once you get to higher floors, when they start throwing 2 malformed enemies at you at once. And the malformed enemies I haven't talked about much, but... There's me jumping again. I haven't talked about much, but they are... the worst enemies. They are hard. I'm not gonna go into details. Just know that the malformed enemies, the biggest defining, yeah, that looked a little weird. Look at the statue sort of disappear when I shot it. The biggest trait of a malformed enemy is that you can't stagger them. But there's malformed enemies with a few hard enemies in the game, like the big dogs, which I'm not saying the name of because I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. But like severed enemies, the big dogs, the proto-titanops, some of the bigger flying enemies, those have malformed versions of them. And they just have way more health. They have an additional malformed effect, which is randomly chosen, and they just don't get staggered. And having those enemies around on the map just makes on the right map with the right extra enemies to help them out makes them a nightmare. This is another very nice floor. This is one of these I can take my time floors. There are enemies here, and there's also items here. Like they always give you this free weapon here. And then later there's going to be 2 locked chests with disgorgers, but, you know, I don't have keys, so I won't be able to open them. Oh, actually, no, this is a different floor. Sorry. I'm thinking a different one. But either way, you do get that weapon at the beginning, and then you can take your time killing enemies here. I still shot that one for the purposes of meleeing those guys, like, asking to get hurt. So you can see I'm just standing around here. Like, I'm wearing down these trichozoids, I think they're called. So that I can melee them later. But again, I'm not in any rush here. I just want them to come out of the hiding and you know, not the trichozoids like there. I'm getting the melee. I want whatever enemy got spawned here, which is there's always something that gets spawned here besides the enemy that starts with. I wanted to come out of the woodwork so I can just deal with it. I think it's a severed. I think. Waiting for it to show itself. Just running back and forth, waiting to see what enemy it is. I'm pretty sure it's a severed. I don't know why it's so shy. There it is. Yeah, it's a severed. I think that's a frost severed specifically. Yeah, it's a frost severed. Hence the frost blast. Yeah, good save there. I accidentally ran off the map and then turned around really quickly and did the grapple. I do tend to run off maps a lot if I'm too into the fight and I just end up running off the map, which can be super frustrating. I mean, the damage it does to you isn't that bad, although if it eats a shield, that's very annoying. And plus, the bigger piece is if you're not on one of these floors, your multiplier is usually going to start dropping because the time it takes you to respawn, your multiplier will start falling by that point. Anyway, I dealt with the severed, so now I can deal with these trichozoid enemies. I can take my time, just go up to them, melee them a bunch. I'll shoot that one a couple more times just so next time I'm ready to stagger him, I can just go up to him, stagger him, and then finish him with a second melee. Stagger, and then melee. Dead. Get more points for that. Do the same thing here. And then just... Yeah, unfortunately, I attacked that guy after his stagger stopped blinking, so I didn't get the full triple damage off of him. But, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not on a time limit here. When you're in this room, just be sure to drop down here to get some nice money. I mean, aside from the money, which is, you know, why not? You do get 1 point per obelite, which is affected by a multiplier. So you can see me leaving behind that item. That's one of those disabling turret items, which I can't remember the name of exactly. But I already have 3 items. You know, the shield, the large health, and the disgorgers. So gotta leave that one behind. These rooms are so nice because later in the tower, rooms with a large amount of 1 melee hit kill enemies are starting to get kind of rare. So take advantage of these rooms when you can. Do not, if you can help it, do not kill these enemies with anything but an aerial melee. It's going to do wonder for your points. I don't know if you've been paying attention to how many points I've been getting. I mean, I'm at 11 million already, and you know, I'm sure people have done better than that by this point. But I would say most people who play the tower either aren't aware of melee doing this because their points are not high enough to reflect how high they get in the tower if you look at the leaderboards, or they just don't focus on it as much. Having 11 million by just this part in phase 3 is better than most players, and that's just because I'm focusing so hard on getting the melee. Okay, just cutting out that extended pause time there. Anyway, so we're in phase 3 now, which is when it starts to ramp up. This isn't as bad as it gets, mostly because enemy levels are still manageable. I believe at this point enemies are level 5, I believe. Let me see what happens when I hit them. Yeah, level 5. And I'll explain how enemy levels work. It's actually very consistent. It's the same every time you run it, but the point is, right now they're level 5, which isn't too bad. they're stronger than they would be normally, but they're not so strong that they just take a million hits, or they die or they just do a ton of damage to you. So you can see I'm still taking time to do some melee aerial kills, especially when there's like only one dog left or something like that. Yeah. My gun's too strong now, because my damage stats are too high, so I end up just destroying those shield towers by accident when I'm not realizing that I should probably just be going up to them and just meleeing them 4 times. Against those shield towers have 200 HP, so they'll die to 4 melee hits. So if you go for them really early when you get into a room, enemies usually haven't fully spawned in yet, so you can usually just get the 4 melee hits very quickly and just finish the last one while you're in the air. Yeah, missed with the horizontal barrage, unfortunately, which probably would have, if not killed them, done a ton of damage. Got the melee aerial kill on the severed there. And then move on. Okay, so I haven't mentioned this, but any single time there's a locked door or a locked chest, it always leads to a Disgorger. That is completely consistent. There is no locked chest or locked room that will not lead to a Disgorger, and that was pretty much all it will ever lead to, aside from destructible objects and things like that. Sometimes it will lead to those as well, but there will always be at least a Disgorger there. Again, getting an aerial kill on this guy. So if you have keys, just know you don't have to worry about saving them or not saving them. If you want the Disgorger, get the Disgorger. If you're saving your keys for other reasons, which there is reasons to not use my keys, which usually happens to me later in runs, and maybe I'll explain it later in this video, maybe not. But regardless, if I do use a key, I'll get a Disgorger. If I don't use a key, I won't get a Disgorger. You can get Disgorgers in other ways besides using keys, but if you use a key, you will always get a Disgorger. So again, luckily the pistol isn't one of those like insanely high DPS guns to the point that I can shoot an enemy like once or twice like these Mycomorphs and then easily finish them off with a melee. That is one nicer thing about having a gun like this. Especially the Mycomorphs, you don't want to not kill a Mycomorph once you stagger them. They have a pretty annoying attack that they only do after they come out of a stagger. So if you're going to stagger a Mycomorph, there are other enemies that do certain things once you stagger them, annoying things. But the Mycomorph especially, if you're going to stagger them, try to finish them off. Otherwise, they're going to shoot a very long-lasting barrage of homing shots at you after they come out of their stagger, and you really don't want to deal with that. So use a key, get my Disgorger. The Blightwave Disgorger, that's the 4th one that I couldn't remember earlier. So it's Blightwave Disgorger, Absolution Disgorger, Quad Swarm Disgorger, and Dire Beam Disgorger. Again, all of them are good except for the Quad Swarm Disgorger. I think the Quad Swarm Disgorger is unironically usually worse than the weapon you have equipped normally. I really hope Housemarque, if they keep updating this game, especially since I believe this game's getting a PC release, if they keep updating the game, I hope they fix the Quad Swarm Disgorger. It's just not as good. There's a Carbine, can't even consider it. So move on. Getting hit reduces all fire cooldown by 5 seconds. This is a pretty bad artifact. Once I get full on artifacts, this is usually one I'll dump in favor of a different artifact. This is one of my least favorites because, yeah, 5 seconds off cooldown when you get hit is nice, but the thing is, the alt fire cooldown, that is. The thing is, I'm usually using the alt fire. When I'm using the alt fire cooldown, I'm focused on using alt fire cooldown. When I'm getting hit, I'm not usually thinking about using alt fire cooldown. So it's not like I just use the alt fire cooldown and then I got hit and now I can use the alt fire again. It's not great. It's not great unless you're one of those players who pretty much only plays with alt fires, which I guess can help with that. But even then, there are faster ways to reduce your alt fire that don't require you to get hit. Yep, so you can see I have 4 big health upgrades, 5 shields, and 7 Disgorgers, so I'm pretty stacked up on items. I mean, I'm going to end up getting a lot more Disgorgers than this. Well, if it's like a normal run, I end up getting quite a lot more Disgorgers, usually in the 20s before I start needing to pop them for any reason. Or needing to pop them in any significant degree. Yeah, I'm taking too long to deal with enemies here. This is why, like, I'm saving the dogs for melee kills, and this is a good example of why you shouldn't be doing that. The extra points I'm getting for killing a couple dogs with melee kills is probably not worth having them run around, shoot at me, mess me up. I didn't even get an aerial one on that one. Mess me up. It's probably better just deal with them, just kill them. take the point hit in terms of you're not going to get as many points. And then, again, me going for melee kill. Although this one, I know why I went for the melee kill here, because it's the only enemy left. So usually it's pretty safe to do. I was just being bad when I try to dodge the attack. Alright, next we have these rooms, which always have towers in them. Yeah, you can see I'm trying to shoot it as little as possible so that I can still get the melee kill on it. I think in this room I end up... Yeah, the drones are sort of annoying to kill with melee kills. Their hitboxes are sort of wonky. If you're not completely parallel with them when you go for the melee kill, Celine will usually get stuck on some geometry inside their hitbox and usually just not hit them. I'm getting good lineups here, so you're not really seeing it, but that's why I said either those or the Aetheract are kind of a coin flip on which one's more annoying to be able to melee kill. I still say the Aetheract's worse. Especially once you know that if you're going to go for the drone melee kill, just make sure Celine is pretty much lined up with them before you go for it. Whereas other enemies, especially aerial enemies, if you're somewhat below them or somewhat above them, Celine will just close the distance herself and you will just be able to finish. She'll just close the distance and get the kill anyway. But for the drone, if you're not lined up with them, she'll try and she'll just get caught on something. It's just this weird thing where she just doesn't really get them. I destroy all these towers. I always destroy the statues, by the way, because they can sometimes have the Lamiodon, I believe they're called, the Lamiodon enemies. And if they pop out an enemy, great. Like it's another. Those are one-hit melee kill enemies, so it's just another free melee kill. So I destroy statues, if I remember to, pretty much in every room I see. Because if they drop a very easy to deal with enemy, then great, I'll get the melee kill and get a couple more points. Oh, yes, finally, a good weapon. Serrated projectile, shrapnel, burst fire, and ricochet. This is hardly my ideal version of a sidearm, but this is much better. It doesn't have charging shots, so like my rate of fire actually matters now. So you can see my burst fires are coming out much faster, and I don't have to charge them anymore. The serrated projectile 3 is probably the MVP trait here. Burst fire is also very good. I mean, burst fire with serrated projectile 3 is probably the MVP here, if I'm being honest. The shrapnel trait in my video, yeah, I'm not a fan of being spawned on top, directly on top of an enemy that explodes. The shrapnel trait in my video, I said wasn't my favorite. I've actually warmed up to it a bit, especially if it's paired with the trait ricochet, which I believe this one is. Because I believe my four traits are burst fire, serrated projectile, ricochet, and shrapnel. And my shrapnel trait is only level 1, so it probably just means it doesn't explode as often, or you don't get as many bullets and explodes. I'm not exactly sure. But I warmed up to the ability a bit, and this playthrough helped me do that. Because it's paired with ricochet, the shrapnels are now bouncing and homing towards targets once they bounce off something. And this is just me like trying to see how often it's the shrapnels activating. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I might have been too hard on this trait, the shrapnel trait. I think paired with the right abilities, it can be quite strong. Primarily paired with ricochet, maybe paired with piercing too, although I would say it's probably more likely to be helpful when you pair it with ricochet. Yeah. I have to get a little bit more used to my gun. You can see like now that I'm shooting enemies, and because serrated projectile is so strong, I'm killing enemies long before I have a chance to go up to them and melee them. My idea is to shoot those dogs, to shoot them once and then run up to them and finish them off the melee. Also, right now I'm wondering why can't I leave as my multiplier keeps going down, and then there on my map I saw that is I don't think that was there. That this enemy just showed up randomly. I was like, okay. I took a little bit of a multiplier hit there, but not a big deal. Alright, another one of these rooms. I can go left for my Disgorger, which I believe I do. Yep. Because I only have 7 Disgorgers right now, so I can still build it up. And I've got an Absolution Disgorger, now I have 8 of those. And then move on. So what's up next? Anyway, I'm quite happy that I found this weapon. A level 45, fairly decent sidearm. It's not as good as it can get. You know, it could stand to have Burst Fire 3, for example, instead of Burst Fire 1. It has Ricochet, which is fine, and it pairs well with Shrapnel, but honestly, I kind of prefer to have Homing Missile, especially paired with Burst Fire. Unfortunately, I haven't found a single sidearm with Homing Missile in this run. And Homing Missile is just a great trait. Okay, a lot of non-combat rooms. This room gives you a shield. I mean, this is just an item room essentially with obstacles. It's just one of the obstacle rooms that if you go through it all, you can get an artifact, a shield, a weapon. There's a little money drop past here, which unfortunately past here I can't dash, so I have to actually time my movement. And then the Disgorger if you open the lock chest, I believe. But yes, yeah. But I don't have a key, so I can't open the lock chest. So I'm not gonna get that Disgorger. But it's fine. The game gives you a million opportunities to get Disgorger. If you have the key for it, if you have the key for a Disgorger and you're looking for a Disgorger, you're probably gonna use it pretty quickly. Rooms that have locked chests or locked doors appear very often, and for some reason I'm having a lot of trouble timing my movement there. Usually I don't have that much trouble there. Let's see what item I got. Take one additional hit before adrenaline levels drop. Okay, that's the one artifact I'll pretty much always not take. So normally when you take damage, so if you don't have any shields left and you take damage, your adrenaline level just resets back to 0. And that allows you to take 2 hits before it resets back to 0. Yeah, I just used a shield and grabbed the vial. It was hard to see, but I did do it. And by the way, that's why I destroyed statues, because the enemy popped out and I was able to kill it and get more points. Anyway, normally you take a hit that damages you, your adrenaline goes back down to 0. Now, taking 2 hits before that happens sounds good. I actually don't like that. Mainly because now I have to... It's sort of a balancing act. The best thing about adrenaline, to me, is the shield you get when you are at 5 adrenaline. Now, when you're at 5 adrenaline, you get increased Obolite collection, which I believe increases the amount of Obolites enemies give you by 50% and maybe increases the radius that you can collect them, which I don't really care about that. What I do care about is the shield it gives you, because that's the second thing it gives you when you're at 5 adrenaline. Now, if you lose that shield, then and you don't have any other shields from like Resonance Shield or the shield items, the next time you get hit, you'll just go back to 0 adrenaline. You can't get that shield back until you go back down to 0 adrenaline and build it back up to 5. So I don't really want that artifact that lets me take 2 hits, because what it effectively means to me is that, okay, I take a hit, I lose my shield, and then I take another hit and I take damage, but my adrenaline level is still 5 because of that artifact. Now, I don't want that. I'd rather go back down to 0 so I can start building up a new shield. But that artifact makes it so that now I have to take another hit of damage before I can start building up my shield again. Which is why I pretty much always ignore that item. It does allow you to get up to the shield more quickly before you get reset in the middle of building up to the shield. So there are instances where you might get more shields out of it if you tend to get hit a lot while you're building up to 5 adrenaline, which, you know, is fair. But for me, I'd rather not have it. It's very frustrating to be at 5 adrenaline, take a hit, take damage, and still be at 5 adrenaline, because I'm like, okay, well, I took damage and I can't even build up to my new shield again. So, yeah, I ignore that item for that reason. Now we're fighting phase 3 of Algus, and after this one, every Algus after this one will be the same. Not as this one, but as the same as everyone coming up, which is, I think, what they call Algus Infinity form, which is essentially, from what I can tell, although when I start doing specific footage gathering for this, I'll be able to say more definitively. The Algus Infinity form is essentially just a Algus Form 3. So right now I'm about to fight Form 2, because I just killed Form 1. So this is Form 2, and the third health bar will be Form 3. I'm pretty sure Algus Infinity is just Form 3. Maybe there are some differences to it in terms of attack patterns, but from what I can tell, it's pretty much just Form 3. But it's just a much beefier health bar, and Algus is just stuck on that form. And that's how it's going to be after this one, because Algus will never get 3 health bars after this point. It will only get 1, but it will be a chunkier health bar, and it will be on its hardest form. So this is the hardest form where it rips open his face, or its eye, or whatever. Okay, you can see I'm not really having all that much trouble. I have 4 regular shields, a resonance shield, and a shield below my adrenaline, so I actually have 6 shields active right now. So I can take 6 hits before I even start taking damage. I mean, I prefer not to, because I don't want to eat up my shields on Algus, which Algus isn't the highest damaging thing in the game, really. Even when Algus does hit you, so even if you're messing up a lot on Algus, you're probably not going to die compared to the rest of the tower, because things like here I'm going to jump, right? Jump, please. Let's go. you're not gonna take as much damage from Algus, even if they do hurt you. And you can see I still have the 6 shields, so from when I started paying attention, I haven't taken a single hit. I don't know if I got hit on Algus at all this fight. Maybe I did. I wasn't really focusing. Anyway, here's my free... Yep, destroy the statues. Look for an enemy just in case. Get my free health upgrade. Destroy the rest of the statues. There's 8 statues in these interval rooms, by the way. 2 at the beginning, these 2 around the items. 2 at the entrance, which I already... 2 at the entrance to the... Or 2 at the exit. One side of the exit, which I already destroyed, and 2 on the other side of the exit, which I'll destroy shortly. This artifact, melee kills briefly increase speed by 25% and protection by 25%, is fantastic. I'm really contemplating if I should bother buying it. The thing is, you're likely to run into it pretty quickly. I do end up buying it. You're likely to run into it anyway because, you know, the more artifacts you have, the fewer artifacts that the game can give you going forward because you already have it. That's a really good artifact, especially someone like me, and pretty much probably anyone really with trying to go for very high scores is probably going to go for a lot of melee kills. Now, killing an enemy with a melee and running 25% faster and getting 25% boosted protection, which lasts a pretty long time. You know, it's a few seconds, which might not sound like a long time, but it's long enough to chain attacks for sure. It's a huge benefit. Anyway, those 2 parasites I had to choose from are awful. I got a very bad choice. I ended up choosing one I didn't want because the detriment to it wasn't as bad as the detriment on the other one. The detriment on this one makes it so I will take damage whenever I pick up items. Now, that doesn't include resin or health. I can pick those up just fine. Like, those won't hurt me. That sounds pretty awful. It means every time I pick up a Disgorger or a weapon, which, because of the way this playthrough works, I'm not really likely to pick a weapon. Pick up weapons, pick up keys, pick up consumables. Pretty much pick up anything but health. You'll take... Oh, what do I have here? You'll take damage. Find salvage from hostiles more often. Increase repair efficiency by 20%, reduce protection by 10%. Okay, so I'm not crazy about this one either because it lowers my protection, but increasing my repair proficiency isn't that bad. Anyway, back to the choice before that, where the parasite was to make me take damage. My other choice of a detriment, I don't remember what the positive effect was. It wasn't very good. My other choice of a detriment was greatly increase my melee and dash cooldown. That has to be the worst parasite detriment. I don't think there's any single one that I would avoid more than that parasite detriment. The dash cooldown, it doesn't make your dash cooldown unusable. You can still dash, but it is noticeable, and really noticeable is how much worse it makes your melee, because it takes so long for you to be able to do multiple melees. And if you're in a room with a ton of small enemies and you're trying to get all the melee kills to just get your points up, you have to melee and then run and hide for a while. And it's so long, your multiplier is very close to running out by the time you're able to melee again. So you essentially have to shoot enemies in between, or just be very close on timing with that. I really hate that detriment. And there have been times when I've gotten choices of 2 parasites and they both have that detriment, so I'm forced to take it. It's pretty frustrating. So yeah, I will avoid that one always. Now I know if I pick up an item, I'll take damage, or in this case, it will eat up one of my shields. The damage you take is very little. The damage you take doesn't actually seem to go up as you climb the tower, so that's nice. Yeah, I'm getting hit quite a bit here. So I'll take that one, and then I'll dump the parasite in the earliest opportunity. There's 3 ways to lose parasites in a tower. One is to find the item, the extermination sphere, I think it's called, or something like that. Pretty much, you use that consumable, it'll just get rid of all your parasites. It'll just drop them all off you. You just won't have them anymore. So there's that. The other way is to find, I don't remember what they're called, but they're like these sort of parasite recyclers. And you're only, after phase 1, you're only going to find them inside the white, the room spawned by the white portal spawning dudes that sometimes show up, and you just have to kill them and they'll spawn a portal. If you go in there, sometimes they'll be in there. So that's usually how I end up getting rid of parasites. And the third way is if you already have 5 parasites and you find a 6th parasite and you equip it, one of your parasites will be randomly overwritten, and you don't get to choose which one. Which, you know, because of how that works, because you have rooms where you have to take 1 or 2 parasites, and those rooms are going to keep showing up for the entire run periodically. You know, randomly they're going to show up, and you don't have any control over it. And you're going to get in a room, and you're going to have 2 parasite choices, and you have to take 1, and eventually you're probably already going to have 5 parasites. That is when I say, like, parasites are, like, to me, the biggest luck factor in this game. Because you can't just choose to not take a parasite. Say you have 5 parasites you're very happy with, the detrimental effects to them are very manageable, and the beneficial effects to them are very, very good. Well, guess what? Next time you find a parasite, and you still have those 5 parasites, you're gonna have to pick up a parasite, and it might be a bad parasite, because you might have a choice between bad and bad, and you're gonna lose one of your parasites, and you don't get to even choose which one you lose. You know, runs a lot of times for me tend to go south when once I reach 5 parasites that I'm happy with, and then if I get unlucky enough on my 6th parasite that I get a bad parasite and lose a good parasite, that's when things start to go pretty south pretty fast. I'm actually not sure how I feel about how that works in the tower. I'm not crazy about that because, you know, this is a roguelike, or a roguelite, I should say. So there's a lot of randomness to it, but the way parasites work, there is a little bit of choice because you can choose one or the other, but, you know, I've gone unlucky enough with parasites enough that I just, yeah, I don't know what's Celine's animation there. I've gone unlucky with parasites enough that I don't know how I feel about it. Like, everything else feels like chaos, but controlled chaos. Like, you have a lot of influence over how things work. You react to the situation. The parasites, there's only so much reacting you can do. You know, you don't find a weapon you like, that's fine. The game has tons of weapons, and there's weapon drops all the time. And then, you know, learn how to use different weapons, and learn different weapon strengths and weaknesses, and then you'll be able to adapt to it. Parasites, you get 2 parasites, and sometimes they are equally awful. And it's just unfortunate. It's not a huge deal though. You know, you roll what you get, and you can always just try it again, another run. Anyway, so far I'd say this run is actually going quite well. You know, I'm taking. You can see I'm by no means the world's best player. I think I'm pretty good at the game, but, you know, I make a lot of mistakes. I get hit plenty of times, but still, I have 5 shield items still. I have a resonance shield currently active, which might get eaten up anytime now. Plus, I have 4 big health items, and I have 10 disgorgers to pop if I ever decide to remember that I have them. Which, you know, I don't usually go for it because, again, I'm shooting enemies just to avoid my multiplier going down, but for the most part, what I'm trying to do is just get the melee kill. Shoot and purposely miss them, so that the homing shots will go for them instead. Reset my cooldown. I just got hit by a Lamiodon, I think. Or actually, it looks like it missed me. I don't know where that thing came from. I probably destroyed an obelisk or something, and then it came out of there. Which, cool, 3 points, especially since it didn't look like it hit me. The Strixia that I just killed with a melee, those little small flyers, important to note, this version of the Strixia, not the Proto Strixia, when they're firing their shot, whether they're homing in on the laser or they're firing the blue shots, pretty much anything will stagger them. So, if you don't, yeah, I didn't take that pistol because it had a very bad trait combination for me, and probably for anyone. Anyway, the Strixia, if the basic Strixia is just shooting, and you're trying to get a good angle to get the melee, but they just keep firing those blue shots, so you have a high chance of taking damage if you try to go in for the melee kill. You can just shoot anywhere, let a homing shot hit them, they'll stagger, they'll stop shooting, and you can go up to them and melee kill them. Important to note. That doesn't really work on a Proto Strixia. Yeah, I took damage because I picked up that artifact, unfortunately, because of my parasite detriment. It's a very good artifact though. The pistol it doesn't synergize perfectly with pistol. Essentially, whenever I overload my weapon, so whenever I get the good reload timing, I will be able to break shields with my weapon attacks for 6 seconds. So basically, I don't have to use like the shield breaker, which I have as a secondary fire, or some other secondary fire or alt fire that breaks shields, and I don't have to melee enemies to break shields. As long as I overloaded in the last 6 seconds, my weapon fire will break shields instead. You can see I'm sacrificing a lot of points here to just kill the flyers because, like, I can see a Severed is spawning. Severus teleport around the map, they jump around. And my multiplier isn't, like, it's hard to manage all those things. Like, manage a multiplier not going down. Keep shooting enemies periodically so that my multiplier doesn't keep going down. Deal with the severed, which are honestly probably the hardest enemy types in the game for me. I mean, this isn't a malformed one, thankfully, but they're still very difficult. So I sort of just select, yeah, I'll shoot some of the flying enemies so I can preserve my shield, so I can preserve my health, preserve my sanity, and you know, I don't get as many points as I want, but hey, I don't end up like having an awful room where I just take a ton of damage. Plus, I do get some aerial kills. I even got an aerial kill on that severed right there, so that's not so bad. Keep in mind, when I say aerial kill, I mean aerial melee. Okay, here's another parasite. Yeah, I'm looking at how many parasites I have. 20% chance not to use consumable on use, suffer damage when using key. Drop Obelites 2 seconds longer, reduce repair efficiency by 30%. For me, this is a no-brainer. I'll take the first one, which actually went up to 25%. I should mention I have the item Murmuring Cocoon. Murmuring Cocoon makes certain parasites beneficial effects better. For like that one, when I was reading it before I picked it up, it said 20% chance not to use a consumable when you try to use it, and that went up to 25%. It has that sort of effect on certain things. So that one, now instead I just have to stop using keys, or I'll take damage, which, you know, fine. I already have 10 Disgorgers, and I'm gonna keep getting more without having to use keys. So I don't really need to use keys anymore. Yeah, these are both the same item. I don't really have to use keys anymore until I start running out of Disgorgers. Of course, picking up the key hurts me too because of my other parasite malfunction. But essentially, okay, now I have 25% chance that if I use my shield item, or if I use a health item, or if I use a Disgorger, that I use it and I get the benefit, and I don't lose it. So 25% is pretty nice. The other benefit, I don't remember what it was exactly. But the detriment was to reduce repair efficiency by 30%, which is a lot. I don't want to reduce my repair efficiency that much. And that affects all forms of repairing in the game. So like if you're using an item to repair yourself, or just picking up a health item, it will reduce that. I know I'm usually at full health, especially right now. I've been usually at full health. Well, yeah. Well, there goes that. But see, now that I took damage, if all forms of repairing are 30% less effective, it's going to take me a lot longer to get up to full health. And I want to be at full health, specifically because when you're at full health, you're much more likely to find resin. And when you find resin, you get a shield. So it's sort of a compounding problem. Not having enough repair efficiency makes it a lot harder to get up to full health. And if you don't get full health fast enough and you don't find a shield, the next time you get to take a hit, you'll take damage again. And yeah, here's me not knowing what I'm doing. You'll take damage again. So, yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely want to kill these guys because these guys have a chance to get the... I'm taking a lot of damage. Get the parasite rooms. And here it is again. Okay. So this is the parasite sale room. So that little thing in the middle there, I can go up to it and sell my parasites. I go up to it and use it twice, I think, right away without even looking, because I know there's at least 2 parasites that I will not leave this room with without getting rid of it. I can't choose which ones I sell. I can just keep going until I get rid of it. Now, unfortunately, I got rid of some good ones, but I'd rather get rid of bad parasites than hold on to good ones. And I still have a bad one. So essentially, I end up selling all 4 of my parasites. I can't choose which one it sells. It just sells it randomly. And now I can choose these. Ink. Yeah, that's very good. I think I might take both of these. I don't remember. Yeah, so I heal myself, and now I can't gain adrenaline for 150 Obelites. I'll talk about that one later, but then this one's really good. Increased 20% protection, and the detriment is my proficiency rate is decreased by 15%. That's essentially a free parasite. My proficiencies are, you can see on the bottom left, it says 45 max. My level's already at max, which is all the proficiency affects. It just affects how fast you level up. Now I'm already at max level, so I don't care that my proficiency is decreased by 15%. I'm not going to gain levels. So essentially, I just got 20% protection, which is fantastic, for no downside. Now the other one that I took was to get a free use out of an item, so you'll use an item and not lose it. But when you do that, you'll get a malfunction. Now the malfunction I got was that I can't get adrenaline. I'm actually taking a lot of hits in this room. I can't gain adrenaline, so you can see my adrenaline on the bottom is going to stay 0 until I collect 150 Obelites. Yeah, these are some of the worst rooms. This room's particularly, like this actual layout of this room is one I have among the most trouble with. Especially, like, I got two malformed enemies. A severed and one of those like big Arcanact enemy types. Which more than the attack patterns themselves is like the malformed effects they spawned, which I'm not going to get into, but yeah, I took a lot of damage there. Anyway, so I healed myself and got the malfunction because I chose my free item to be like the big health pot item, which, you know, I lost almost all that health, but I got the big health pot item, I used it, and I got the malfunction, not getting adrenaline. You can see my obolites are very close to being, like, I have 140 out of 150 obolites. The malfunction is about to go away. These aren't usually too bad. Unfortunately, that's actually a pretty bad malfunction, not being able to get adrenaline, but it doesn't last too long, so it's not a huge deal. And now I'm free to use my keys again, because I essentially sold all my parasites. And I got rid of the Quad Swim Disgorger by picking up the Dire Beam Disgorger, which is good, because I hate the Quad Swim Disgorgers. Very rarely do they actually end up helping me when I try to pop them. Every time I use it, I think this is the time it's going to be useful. It just never is. Okay, what do I have here? Fabrication cost reduced by 15%. Increased protection by 15%. Okay. I take the one on the right. 15% actually means 20% because, again, I had the Murmuring Cocoon item. So now, essentially, I'm getting 40% protection from both, like, combined from both my parasites. And I already have 40 base protection from the items. So I should be able to just find one more protection, which will bring me up to 50 protection from the items, plus 40 from the parasites, which will bring me up to 90% protection passively. I don't have to do anything. I just get it. And then if I get a melee kill, that would actually bring me up to 115% protection. I have no idea how much that reduces damage by. I'll test that eventually, I'm sure. How much that actually reduces damage by, but it doesn't reduce damage to 0. So I don't know exactly how it works, as I mentioned before. Anyway, so I'm feeling pretty good. My parasites are fantastic. The downsides for the parasites are pretty manageable, and I just got rid of my non-permanent malfunction, and I just got another one because the malformed enemies' little additional malformed attack right now is to shoot these malfunction-causing shots. But it's a malfunction I don't really care about. Obolites disappear 1.5 seconds faster, which I have 933 obolites. I'm already pretty much at the point that obolites no longer matter to me. The only reason why I care about obolites at this point, if maybe there is a couple things I would want to buy. Shit, yeah, that happens to me a lot. But it's mostly I want to maintain at least 600 obolites because of an item called Golden Coil, which will give you up to 15% extra damage, so long as you maintain at least 600 obolites. So that's pretty much all I have in the back. Yeah, so you can see what I did there. Well, sorry. Keep 600 obolites. Anyway, what I just did with the weapon, I went up to the weapon and picked it up and kept switching back and forth which weapon I had equipped. I wasn't going to use the weapon, obviously, because I'm using Sidearm. But every single time you pick up an item, your multiplier timer before it starts going down increases a little bit, so you have a little bit of extra time. So a very easy way to stop your timer from going down is to go up to a weapon and spam it and just keep picking up, switching the weapon you have back and forth, which is what I did. My multiplier was just about to run out. So I just went up to the weapon and I just picked up a ton of times, which gave me more time to just stand there and then think and then go up to the other items I want to pick up and get those. So yeah, just quick trick in case you're not already doing something like that when you're running the tower. So again, the trichozoids, the enemies with the shields, I want to kill them because they're very easy to kill with melee hits. They're one of the easier non-basic, non-one-hit melee kill enemies in the game. So like I'm trying to finish off these flying abyssal. I don't know how to pronounce it. I promise I'll pronounce it better for the actual video dealing with them. Anyway, those flying enemies, I wanted to just kill them really quickly so I can take my time with these guys. Not sure why I paused. Take my time with these guys and just finish them off. Right, there we go. Got the points for it. Keep going. Just one more melee kill and I'll get rid of the malfunction, which is mostly just to clear up screen space because the malfunction actually doesn't really matter to me. And you can see even the fact that I'm losing obolites, like if you look at my permanent malfunctions, they're very obolite detrimental. I'm losing obolites to never take damage, which again, if it hits my shield, that doesn't count as taking damage. Buying items cost 50% more, and now obolites disappear on the ground 1.5 seconds faster, which actually means they barely last on the ground at all. Even with that, obolites aren't really a problem for me. And I mentioned this a lot in my weapons video. I don't care about obolite enhancing traits. in the same respect, I don't care about Obolite detrimental malfunctions. So actually, if you look at my permanent malfunctions I'm getting, this is almost like perfect. Like, these are the kind of permanent malfunctions I want to see, because they don't affect how I have to play. They don't affect me pretty much in any way whatsoever. Now, if I start getting very unlucky and taking tons of hit, then yes, my Obolites will start dropping to a level below 600, which is not what I want. But, you know, the way I play, a lot of times I'll leave a floor very, very quickly, which will give me 50 Obolites right off the bat. As long as you leave a floor right after you kill the last enemy, you'll get your 50 Obolites. Plus, I'm killing enemies with melee. And killing other enemies with melee makes it pretty hard not to collect their Obolites. Anyway, the malfunction I just got was reduced max integrity, which is, it's beautiful. At this point, I'm very happy, because I know what my last permanent malfunction is, because it's always the same one. So the RNG in permanent malfunction comes into your first 4 permanent malfunctions. So I have while stationary, weapon damage reduced by 75%. Usually you'll get this, and I think there's 2 other ones. You'll get this one, the 75% one. The Obolites will disappear 1.5 seconds faster, which I know right now I have as a regular malfunction, but that can also be a permanent malfunction. You can get that one, or you can get, while you're in the air, weapon damage reduced by 50%. So all of those are pretty much very manageable. Just don't stand still when you have this malfunction, and you won't do reduced damage. And since you're pretty much always moving, it's not really a problem. Anyway, lose Obolites and suffering damage, I already explained. I don't really care about that. My Obolites are now down to a very, 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 very low number, because I just spent a bunch of them. So my idea is I'm going to build them up. I don't even think I have a golden coil item right now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. My idea is I'm going to be able to build them up, just because of the way I play. Fabrication cost creeps up 50%, which is probably part of the reason why my Obolites went down so low, because things are so much more expensive. And then reduced mass integrity. Now, this reduced mass integrity is almost a free malfunction. I believe it reduces your integrity by like 40-50%. I don't know exactly how much. 40-50%, keeping in mind that like I have like almost 300% already, so it's not 50% of all my health. It's 50%. Like, so if I had 300% health, it would go down to 250. It wouldn't go down to 150, for example. Reducing your max integrity doesn't matter, because it doesn't stop you from going back up to max. So if, let's say I was max, which is 300% integrity, and you start at 100%. So let's say I'm at max, I have 300% integrity, and I get this malfunction. Let's say it reduces it by 50. It might be more or less than that. I'm not exactly sure. So now I'm at 250. Well, a couple more cycles and a couple more resins, I'm going to go back up to 300. So now that permanent malfunction is actually doing nothing. It reduced it from the... Anyway, there's a golden coil. It reduced it from the max, and then I built it back up. Anyway, you can see there. If you read the description, I can get up to 15% extra damage, as long as I have 600 Obolites, essentially is what that comes out to. And it goes up from 0 Obolites to 600. It says 5% damage for every 200 Obolites, but that makes it sound like it has 200 cutoffs. You actually get increases between those numbers too. So, like if you have 150 Obolites, for example, you'll get less than 5%, but you still get something. So, I'm just pointing that out. Anyway, another cell parasite room, which I don't think I need a cell. Yeah, because I have perfect perfect parasites. These ones I might take this one, although I really shouldn't. I hope I didn't. I hope I did not take that. I really shouldn't. Do not take it. Do not take it. The detriment on this one is essentially free. So upcoming malfunctions have hard to fix requirements. It doesn't matter, because you only really get malfunctions. I did take it. I'm such a fool. You only really get malfunctions from, like, parasites sometimes can cause them when they detach. And sorry, I had a cough there. Anyway, parasites give you malfunctions sometimes when they detach, and then sometimes enemies have malfunction causing attacks. But besides that, you're not going to get any non-permanent malfunctions, really, for any other reason. Now, permanent malfunctions, you don't have to worry about them having hard to fix requirements, because you cannot fix them. So, having hard to fix requirements for malfunctions is almost a free detriment, because you're, as long as you're weary of what can cause malfunctions, you're not really going to be getting malfunctions, besides the permanent malfunctions, which you don't have a choice, you just have to get them. The reason why I'm saying I don't want to get that parasite, because the beneficial effect of it isn't beneficial enough. It reduces my ult fire cooldown by 3 seconds. It's actually 4 seconds, because I had a Murmuring Cocoon. but that's not enough. Like, I'd rather not have a lot of parasites. Like, you could see I had 2 parasites when I went into that room, and now I have 3 because I picked up the 3rd one. The problem with that is every parasite you pick up will get you closer to having 5 parasites. And having 5 parasites is very dangerous because at that point, the next time you find a parasite, and it's very often you'll find parasites, the next time you find a parasite room where you have to take a parasite, you're going to have to lose one and you're not going to be able to choose which one. So, really, you know, this far into a run, it would have been smarter for me to just not take the parasite because the alt-fire, I'm barely using my alt-fire anyway. It would have been smart not to take the parasite. And then I have one more parasite I can take before I'm forced to lose one, which I don't get to choose. So, yeah, that's why I know that was running through my head when I did this. And I was like, do I take it? Do I not? The beneficial effect is nice. 4 seconds off alt-fire. And my alt-fire is good. I think it's a level 3 shield breaker, so it's good. But I'm not really using it. And even if I am, like, what if I get to 5 parasites, and then I take another parasite, and I lose one of the guys giving me 20% extra protection? Now, 20% extra protection might not sound like a lot, but it will increase the damage you're taking by more than 20% because of the way the calculation works. And I'm not exactly sure how the calculation works, but it's not... Protection, especially very high levels of protection, are very, very important. Like, you just saw that level 14 Proto-Titanops just did a stomp attack on me, and my health barely went down. That's because my protection is insanely high right now. If I was to lose 20% of that, that would probably over double how much damage I'm taking at this point. Now, again, I don't know what the damage calculation is with protection. I don't know how it works because it doesn't make sense. The 2 logical ways that it would work, either 100% protection halves the damage you take, or 100% protection reduces all the damage you take. Neither, very funny drop there. Neither of those are true. But I can say that having 90% protection versus having 0 protection, so you just have base protection, the difference in damage you take is immense. It's not like, oh, I take half damage, or oh, I take 50% less damage. No, you take much less damage. Like, probably, if I had to guess, a third or a fourth amount of the damage. Now, if you reduce 90% protection to 70% protection, because I lose one of those parasites, I'm probably I don't know exactly why, but you just take way more damage. So yeah, don't think like I'm already at 80% protection. What's an extra 10% going to do? It's going to do a lot. You just take it if you can. Don't forego protection. And don't think just I already have 75% protection. I don't need to worry about getting too much extra protection. No, you should worry about it. You should try. Yeah, you can see I'm not taking a lot of damage. I mean, granted, you saw how little damage some of this stuff is doing to me. Now that one did pretty decent damage. If I take damage after I kill an enemy with a melee attack, which will happen recently in this room, and if you want to rewind and see that, you can see. If I melee kill an enemy and then I take damage, the damage is almost 0. And these are level 14 enemies, which I'll tell you is a lot. It's enough to do insane amounts of damage if you don't have protection. To take essentially 0 damage, yeah, these guys have tons of health unless you hit their weak. Well, they have like the biggest weak point multiplier in the game, but they have tons of health. Anyway, my point in all this is getting the extra 25% protection for getting a melee kill because of the artifact I have. You can see like that's increasing my protection from, I believe, 90. I think it's 90 already to 115. Again, I don't understand the protection calculation, but I can tell you, it's important. And at high levels, protection becomes probably the most important stat. I mean, weapon damage is important, obviously, and you can get 4 weapon damage upgrades, and plus, weapon damage has a lot of ways to increase it beyond stat upgrades, whereas protection is sort of more iffy on that, because likely at the end of the game, the items you're going to have are 4 weapon damage upgrades, just passive, so you have 40% extra damage there, and weapon damage actually calculates normally the way you would think. Anyway, 4 weapon damage upgrades from those. Plus 10 from the fractal nail, which gives you 10% extra damage as long as you have a malfunction, and it does work on permanent malfunctions, so as long as you defeat it Albus at least once, it's just a 10% damage increase, period. So there's that. You have the blown out night light, or the blown out light, I forgot exactly what it's called, which as long as you're at max health or low health gives you an extra 10%. Now that one isn't fantastic, but a lot of the times, and it hasn't been true recently, but a lot of times you're going to be at max health anyway because of the way shields work. So you're just going to get 10% bonus damage right there, right off the bat. And then the golden coil, which is another 15% damage as long as you can keep at least 600 money, which I know I'm not doing a good job right now, but keep in mind, I did go out of my way to spend tons of money. I could have just not done that. I could have just been smart and just not spent money on artifacts and stat upgrades, especially since the tower is going to give me what I want for free if I just wait long enough anyway. Anyway, I'm building up my money as we speak anyway, so I assume I'm going to get back to 600 anyway. But anyway, so 15% damage from that, 10% from the Factum Nail, maybe 10% from the Blown Out Light. That's 45% extra damage right there, paired with the 40% damage you get just from stat upgrades. Now it's 85% bonus damage, so that's almost doubling your damage right there. Not to mention just, you know, having high level weapons and high level traits and things like that, or any parasites you might have. You might have a parasite that increases your damage by another 20%, increasing your damage to 105% if things align, or two parasites that increases by 20%, because there's actually, you can get, just like the protection ones, you can get two parasites that increase up to 20%, assuming you have the Murmuring Cocoon. So yeah, don't know why I went off on that tangent, but the point is, there's a lot more ways to increase protection, not protection. There's a lot more artifacts that increase damage versus artifacts that increase protection. There are two protection increasing artifacts, but one of them I would say is not great, and one of them is this melee kill one, which I think is fantastic. Like you can see speed and protection increase on the left there, and you can see it's going down, but like unfortunately, like, I guess the protection doesn't matter right now because like I have a shield anyway, but my point is you're gonna get hit a lot. You know, eventually you're gonna fail the tower, which means you're gonna have to be getting hit, but you're gonna be getting melee kills a lot too, so there's a very good chance that you're getting hit sometime after you just got a melee kill, and that's gonna do so much for you in terms of not taking too much damage. Oh yeah, cleared this room. Time to move on. What's my points at? 38 million. You can see my high score right there, 160 million, 166, which I believe right now is number 15 on the leaderboard. It was 14 at the time I got it. Someone must have done better than that and pumped me down a bit. So it's definitely slow going. The way I play is definitely not the fastest, and you know, sometimes I'll just stand around, shoot enemies little homie shots, waiting until I can get them with a melee kill, which is a slow way to play, but it's a way to get the melee kills before the tower floors become insanely difficult because they just do too much damage. Because right now, you know, I'm obviously getting hit, but then the hits I'm taking aren't so bad that I have to worry about it unless I get to low health. Yeah, don't ask why I picked up the coil spine. That's just there was a thought in my head, but it doesn't matter. I know I can't take it with me because I can only use my sidearm for this video. I picked the sidearm again, it's almost fine. Yeah, sometimes enemies take a little bit too long to spawn, and it's very hard to avoid your multiply going down. My multiply went down a little bit. It's a very manageable amount, though. Yeah, you can see I'm having a lot more trouble getting melee kills on enemies because their health pools are so high that it's getting hard to time the melee kill because my melee damage is such a small fraction of their health. And I don't want to just stand there meleeing them infinitely because I know these Gorgoliths are spawning, or I knew something was spawning. I didn't know what it was. I got the melee kill there though. I knew something was spawning. I was like, well, I'm gonna have to deal with these. And unfortunately, as far as being able to kill, Gorgoliths have the highest health in the game, behind Algus, obviously, and tied with one of the larger flyers, is Strixia Matriarch. So you know, I want to dispatch the enemies quickly before these enemies show up, especially if it's something like the Gorgolith, which is what you're seeing me fight right now. They do have ways of dealing with them faster, some built-in weaknesses that are more severe than most enemies. But still, you know, you don't want these things running around shooting at you while you're trying to deal with the smaller enemies on the screen. There's me switching back and forth between weapons really quick, just so I have a breather and I don't have to worry about the multiplier countdown. But obviously I end up going back to my sidearm before I move on. Got some resin here to increase my max health. I already have the resin shield, so I don't get another shield. Here's me wishing I could take the electro pylon, but I can't, so I move on. So, like I said, it takes 4 slashes, 1, 2, 3, and jump 4 to kill those, because they have 200 health and you do 60 damage for each slash. And then, you know, start doing with the Michael Morse. Shoot them a couple times, maybe try to get a jump kill. But again, don't focus too hard on it. It's better to just get them out of the way and dead before they start really causing you problems. And because I'm using serrated projectiles, you might see me sometimes just tag an enemy and move on. Even if I know they're not going to die, which actually is a problem for the Mycomorph because of the way they, that attack that he was just about to do right there. The way they attack you once they're not staggered anymore. It's probably better to just finish them off. But still, you know, I have serrated projectile, so I can shoot an enemy and move on. And then when I look back to them, if they're not dead, they will at least have taken quite a lot of damage because of having taken the full effect of the serrated projectiles. Yeah, so you can see I have 2 keys and I'm electing not to open the door anymore. I'm getting to the point where I have enough Disgorgers that I don't really feel like it's needed for me to focus too heavily on that. The reason being is like it's gonna take me a long time to get through 16 Disgorgers, especially since I'm gonna keep finding them as the game goes on, and I could easily have the parasite that makes a 25% chance I don't even use one when I pop one, that it doesn't get decremented. Now what I'm more worried about is not having the quad swarm Disgorger, which I don't have right now. I have the absolution Disgorger. So my thought is when I get a free Disgorger that I kill an enemy and they drop a Disgorger, or I'm in a room that just gives me a Disgorger without having to use a key, I'll pick it up. But if it happens to be a quad swarm Disgorger, then next time I come over a locked chest or door, then I'll open it with my key and try to get a different Disgorger. But unless I just have a Disgorger that I don't want, I'm not going to use my keys to bother switching it. I'm just going to save my keys only to make sure I don't get stuck with a quad swarm Disgorger for very long, because that's essentially my objective. I can deal with any of the other Disgorgers, I just don't want that one. Anyway, now you can see I'm dealing with some malformed enemies. This is a malformed Carbonix or whatever it is called, the dog. I just killed it, but I still have this malformed set that I have to deal with. The dog had this weird like purple scissors attack that it was dealing, that it came with. That's like the malformed ability that came with. That's not unique to the dog. That's just one of the random ones it got. I'm not sure what this guy gets. I'm trying to see what ability they. Oh, okay. Yeah, they gave him like the red wave, where every now and then these red circle waves will just appear from where the enemy is. There, I picked up the Disgorger right there. So that's one of the malformed enemies' possible extra attacks I get. In this case, the dog got these little purple orbs that generated these beams that locked it on you, and the Severed got those red waves that came out. Here we have another an item obstacle room. In this case, we have the beams that are on a timer that will switch their fence formation along with the central wave generator, if you want to call it that. These rooms tend to have very similar items. You know, a free shield, a weapon change, a Disgorger if you have the key for it. In this case, you get a little health drop, or not health drop, Obolite drop right there for about 50 Obolite chunks back there, and then a few smaller Obolites hidden throughout if you want to go for them, and then an artifact if you go up here. I don't remember what it is, but I'm at the point that, yeah, I don't. That reduces the number of resins I need to reach maximum health. I'm very, very close to maximum health anyway, so I don't really care for that item. It doesn't really matter anymore. I'm going to reach max. I know I'm going to reach max health without too much trouble. In fact, just one more defeat of Algus, just looking at my health bar, looks like it would just put me there if I don't get there naturally just through the resin anyway. I'm going just back for the money, because, you know, why not? I'm very close to getting 600, which, now that I have the golden coil, I believe I have it now, you know, it's just extra attack until I get to 600, in which case I'll max out the extra 15% attack. Moving on, I go on to the weapon, a room with 4 resins and a weapon. This is one of the rooms where I say it's usually resin if you're not at max health. If you are at max health, this room always drops the health maximum health upgrades, even if you're not at maximum health. It's just 4 resins, it doesn't ever drop health, and plus it has a weapon at the front. Another combat room. I quickly go up to the tower before enemies start spawning. Get my aerial kill on that, and then start dealing with the dogs. Yeah, he's hitting the dogs when they're down like that. It can be a little bit hard sometimes to actually get the hit. You can see I keep missing when I try to go for the aerial kill. It would be better if I just went for the grounded melee kill, because a melee kill does still give you more points than than not killing him with melee. Just not as many if you were to do it with an aerial version. So I should just be settling for that, especially since I'm not kind of timer there because they have the poison serrated projectiles on them. So if I miss once, they're just gonna die. You can see here I'm dealing with malformed enemies again. Another malformed dog and another malformed severed. This time one of them gets the that purple fence. Where these purple fences are just showing up around the battlefield until you kill whichever one is generating. I'm actually not sure which of the two is generating the purple fence. And I'm not sure what the other ability is. I can't really tell what the second ability is. Anyway, the Severed definitely had the purple fence. Okay, yeah. The Severed had the purple fence because killing him got rid of it. And the dog had those malfunction shots that are following me around right now. So if they hit me, I'll just get a malfunction. A non-permanent malfunction. Another combat floor with another healing tower. They book it for the healing tower real quick. But I see there's a bunch of enemies here. Even though they get healed, I'm just, you know, I'm having at them. These are a lot of free points. They die in one melee hit anyway, so the fact that they get healed doesn't matter. They'll still die before they have a chance to heal. Which is true for even if you have very high DPS weapons. A lot of times you can kill enemies before they have a chance to heal. You can see this most often with Disgorgers. Disgorgers will usually deal damage to enemies faster than those towers can heal them. Even if they have a lot of health, you'll still see their health go down faster and this went back up if for some reason you needed to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna hit a bunch here. Pretty unfortunate. You can see I'm not taking a ton of damage, especially since I has shield, and I am getting a lot of melee kills. So like my protection keeps getting refreshed to being even higher than normal because my melee kills keep going through before the buff ends. It's about to end right now, but you know I dealt with most of the enemies. I just have to deal with this last couple of severed enemies. One is about to die right now. They just died. Here goes the second one. And just fighting a single severed enemy isn't usually pretty bad. Actually, fighting a single of any one enemy is usually pretty easy, as long as you're familiar with what that enemy can do. So when there's only one enemy left, and yeah, severed for some reason have this tendency to drop a ton of money. Anyway, dealing with enemies one-on-one is usually pretty easy. Even if they're malformed, although malformed ones have more danger. Just be careful, don't slip up too much, because they do have a possibility of take out tons of health at once if you're too lax on them. So here I'm about to fight Algus. I have another option for Sidearm. I don't take it because it has charging shot without burst fire. You can see I take it where I charge and shoot one bullet at a time. It's just pretty much never worth it to take that. Your DPS goes down so much. Without burst fire, charging shot is a real detriment to your gun. The extra damage it does is not worth it. If charging shots paired with serrated projectiles, it can make the serrated projectile poison effect very, very good. But even with that, I would still want it to have burst fire at least. Some version of burst fire. Even though if you recall from my video, I said that the interaction between charging shot and burst fire is a little broken. And it still is. Here we got Algus's little malfunction attacks where his little eye friends start summoning all like his little normal shots while he himself summons all the malform shots, which are now gone. I think they did a good job with this Algus fight. I think it's fairly varied and it has quite a lot of attacks. Algus is definitely a very, very complex enemy in terms of the number of things it can do. And it's also very pretty to look at, although, you know, I fought this guy enough times. I know what Algus can do. And, you know, I'm never worried going into an Algus fight. Especially since they always give you one free shield going into it. And you can I still have the shield. I don't believe Algus even hit me this time. Or I should jump. And yeah, there's a hostiles counter on him. This is the last permanent malfunction you'll get. Every malfunction you get after this is going to be a critical malfunction, which is a usually not that bad. Critical malfunction can do a few different things, but it's usually like it'll destroy resin, it'll destroy a key, it'll destroy one of your artifacts. It's usually one of those three things. None of those things really matter. The worst one it can do is destroy one of your artifacts, but even if it does that, you're likely to just find the artifact again very quickly, and either you can buy it again or just wait for it to be given to you for free, and then you're fine. But destroying a resin doesn't matter because you can see it now at max health, so destroying a resin doesn't do anything. Destroying a key, whatever. Okay, so there's one less Disgorger I can unlock. Anyway, back to the fifth permanent malfunction is hostiles counter on hit. I don't think this used to always be the case. Yeah, you can see now that I'm shooting him, and even now that he's taking the poison damage, the little counter shots are coming out at me at intervals, and the intervals are equal to when he takes the poison, takes the damage. any non-melee hit you do against an enemy will now counter. So you really have to keep moving, which actually makes I'm getting hit there. It also makes the shotgun weapon, I would say, probably the most difficult to use properly, because you inherently want to be close to enemies. Again, if you use a melee hit against an enemy, it won't counter you. You're fine. You're safe to do that. So, you know, another great reason to use melee. But any other attacks, you can see these guys, like, bullets are just flying towards me now because they're just countering me. This is the worst permanent debuff, in my opinion. Permanent malfunction that the game can give you. I don't believe this was always required. I'm almost certain that, you know, there was a fairly substantial update they did a few months ago. You know, well before I started working on my video, my first video, about the weapons, where I believe that these were more randomized. But since then, I've noticed that the 5th permanent malfunction is always hostiles counter on hit. They probably did this because they realized this one is worse by far than the other ones. Sorry, I tapped the mic there. This one's worse by far than the other ones. So we don't want, you know, some players getting snuffed for this one and some players getting lucky. So instead, we're just going to give it to everybody. So that being the case, I would say I have an almost, you know, golden list here of permanent malfunctions. 4 of them don't matter, which are the 4 that are randomized, and one of them is going to happen no matter what, so there's no reason to feel bad about it because, you know, everyone else has to deal with it too. You know, it's not just me dealing with it. Anyone who's gone this far in the tower also has to deal with hostiles countering on hit. So I'm feeling pretty good. There's 3 malfunctions I don't want to see. That you don't have to get, and I didn't get them. So I actually, this is a pretty great run, other than the fact that I'm restricting myself to only the sidearm, which the sidearm's a good weapon, don't get me wrong, but restricting myself to only sidearm means it's much harder for me to find a combination I want. Like, you can see I'm looking at other weapons as I run, and I want to pick up those weapons because I'm not finding, like, the ideal sidearm, but maybe I'm finding a closer to ideal electropylon, a closer to ideal rockland lobber, a closer to ideal coil spine, for example, because, you know, it's just easier to find more ideal versions of weapons when I have the entire weapon pool to choose from. But I don't. But that list of malfunctions is ideal. The 3 malfunctions I don't want to see are, 1, my melee takes 2 extra seconds to cool down. That's terrible. With how much I melee, and especially in rooms where it's filled with enemies that die in 1 melee hit, you really don't want your melee to take 2 extra seconds to cool down. That is a huge detriment. Especially if you're still focused on getting the melee kill, it means you have to kill them. You have to kill the enemy and then sort of dip out while you're ready for your melee to recharge, and that gives enemies a whole lot more opportunity to swarm you, a lot more opportunity for them to get hits on you. And the unfortunate part is once you get that one, you just got to deal with it. You just have it. So I don't want that one. There's another permanent malfunction. Enemies explode when killed or something. That one's not terrible. I don't want to see it. When they die, they explode. And they explode in a pretty modest amount of bullets. It's not a lot, and the bullets don't go very far. But, you know, I'm killing this melee a lot. So, you know, if I kill an enemy with a melee and having it explode with bullets is sort of annoying. It means that essentially I need to kill them and dash immediately just to avoid the death. But it also means I can't, like, if I dash up to an enemy and get the melee, then I'm risking getting hit by a bullet because they're going to die. And then I no longer have the dash because I just used it to get up to the enemy, and now I might get hit by it. But I don't have to deal with that because I didn't get that permanent malfunction. Look at all that money. And then the last one I don't want to get is hostiles leave pools of acid upon death. So, you know, again, it's the one that triggers when they die. But this time when they died, below them where they died, there's just acid. And if you walk in it, you get hurt. That one's pretty annoying too. Similarly, it makes melee sort of annoying because, you know, it's not just melee, but essentially you kill an enemy and now you have to be careful where you step because the pool stays on the ground for quite a while. So you just have to be aware of that. Okay. I mean, here's an opportunity for me to sell parasites. I don't think I elect to do so. Yeah, because the 3 parasites I have are fine. I really shouldn't have taken that cooldown, that alt 5 cooldown reduction one, but I did. Increased proficiency rate is useless for me because I'm max. Fixes or prevents 1 malfunction. I don't care. I just ignore them. I move on. I don't sell. Again, you don't have to take a parasite in those rooms. Those rooms are like the bonus rooms that you get. Like you can just choose to ignore those ones. It's the parasites where when you ascend a floor, and then suddenly there's 2 parasites, and then you have to take one. Then you don't have a choice. Those are the bad ones. I mean, my run's still pretty well. I have 5 shields, 5 large health pots, and 5 disgorgers. You know, my multiplier is 89. It's not a maxed out multiplier, not yet, but it's steadily building. You know, there's a couple floors where it goes down a little bit, but for the most part, it's been steadily climbing, and I don't have to worry too much. I'm doing a fairly good job of not letting my multiplier drop too much. Especially, like, having serrated projectiles means that the enemy's still taking damage after I shoot them for a few seconds, which means I can shoot an enemy once and then just run around trying to think of what to do next. My multiplier won't go down for a while. Yeah, see, that counter on hit thing is so annoying. The damage I'm taking isn't that much from the counter on hit, but, you know, it's eating my shields, so there's that. Still taking damage, all that, so. Yeah. Trying to get the aerial kill in this Gorgolith, because why not? I noticed he had almost no health, so why not? And then I got the 246,000 experience for killing him with an aerial kill. And then, yeah, just keep shooting this guy periodically. Let his counter hits keep homing for me. Yeah, I overloaded my weapon, which means my attacks now broke shields, which means that Trichozoid next to him, his shield got broken, and then the Trichozoid died. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to avoid doing that, actually, specifically because I want the melee kill. These enemies aren't. These enemies are pretty ideal, and like here I am, like wasting my opportunity to get a melee kill again. So that's a mistake by me. These enemies are pretty passive in terms. The Trichozoid only had 2 attacks, and you can pretty easily weave around them. Unless they're like in corners next to walls, in which case one of their attacks can have the bullets bounce around and be kind of annoying for getting melee kills. But, you know, they get decent points, and they're pretty easy to get melee kills on. I'm not really sure what I'm checking here. Might need to cut this part. Right, okay, back to where I'm paused. I grabbed the shield. I already had 5 shields, so, you know, I pop 1 shield and then grab the shield, so I'm back up to max 5 shields. Go around, grab the money. I'll pretty much always grab the money. You know, it's not a ton of points, but it's not no points. You know, right now at 90 points per Obolite, 90 because that's where my multipliers are now. Why not? Grab it. You know, over the course of a run, you get several thousand Obolites, and some of those will come in at the 100 multiplier, most of them won't, but, you know, it's a little bonus. Anyway, I noticed this time I think I'm just going to shoot the tower, right? Yeah, I'll just shoot the tower and then just deal with this guy. I don't like letting these guys escape. Especially they give you a ton of points, and sometimes the rooms they give you are pretty cool. He ate up my shields, unfortunately, because I was very stupid and I shot him, and then now he started counting on hit because of my permanent malfunction. It's, yeah, another large health pot though, so yay, and I have 6 large health pots. It's going to be very hard to kill me, provided I'm smart and I use the item when I need it, which usually isn't a problem. Yeah, so again, one huge detriment to taking those bonus rooms is when you come back, if you haven't killed enemies on your before you win, when you come back, pretty much every enemy that's going to spawn has now spawned. So like I realize this coming back, and sometimes I'll pop a Discord before I come back if I know what's waiting for me in the other room. This time I didn't really think about it, but essentially I just start shooting enemies right away. Like I don't wait. Oh god, that counter on hit thing is so annoying. Yeah, picking up weapons back and forth just to reset the timer. But essentially, you know, you go into those bonus rooms and you leave the bonus room, and then all the enemies are here. So start killing enemies quickly. Don't dawdle around. Don't try so crazy hard to get melee kills. Here you can see there's a bunch of drones. I'm still going for melee kills on these towers because I noticed like the tough enemies haven't spawned yet. So, you know, let me get as many drone kills as I can. This guy's being really annoying, and my multiplier is suffering quite a lot because of it. So I just shoot him and then I move on just to get the multiplier to stop dropping. God, I'm taking a lot of hits here. Okay. And now I can start dealing with the Strixia Matriarch. These flying enemies, not the drones. The flying tentacle enemies are the ones that are tied with the Gorgolith for health. They have the same health, and their health increases by the same amount per level as a Gorgolith. So, but the thing about the Strixia Matriarch, God, the weak points are severe. I think they take like 28 times more damage or something like that. I'll verify before I make the video just how much more damage to take from the weak points, but it is a lot. They're actually quite easy to kill. Oops, I fell here. They're actually quite easy to kill as long as you stagger them, which is what reveals their weak point. Well, it's what reveals their backside to you, which normally is hard to get to the backside without staggering them. And their backside is what's weak. Spike ups are taking a ton of damage. Yeah, you can see the health's going down pretty fast. The serrated projectiles doesn't hurt weak points, so like I do actually have to actively shoot it to keep hitting weak point. But you can see now, even with still getting hit, even though it has a little bit of health left, if you're not actually hitting weak point, it can still take quite a while to reduce that to 0. So I took a lot of hits there. I'm not feeling great about that, but you know, I'm still alive. It looks like I have like a 110% health right now out of 300. Just looking at my options here, I'm pretty confident that I have my character's almost completed in terms of like, well actually that's an item I probably would want. Attaching, detaching parasites with parasite integrity is, yeah, and I get rid of pulsating mass, which attaching, detaching parasites improves my max integrity, but my integrity is already at max, so I don't need that item. But you know, this is just fine tuning it, but my items are pretty much complete. Like I don't, there aren't very many crazy items I can think of that I don't already have that I would want. I think I don't have the silver lattice, which is the only one I would want. The silver lattice allows it so that slowdown effects, like sometimes the green goop or like frost effects on the ground, will slow you down. The silver lattice will make it so that those don't slow you down anymore. So that's I don't think I have the one in this playthrough right now yet, and that's the only thing I can think of that I would definitely still want. I would consider like a fairly significant item. It's not the most important one, but you know, not being slowed down is nice. Yeah. Dealing with these abyssal arcanact, or however you call these things. Just moving around a lot, trying to get a lot of good shots in, shooting them at least a couple times, and moving on. Because again, the poison does work. It does a lot of damage. So you know, don't feel the sidearm's not good. This is far from an ideal version of a sidearm that I would want. And yet you can still see it's strong. Yeah, I had to take one of these. I don't want this one. I do not want to do some melee damage. So one fewer kill to increase adrenaline levels, but take a repair efficiency hit. The repair efficiency hit sucks. I would rather not have either of those. Although only needing 2 kills per adrenaline instead of 3 now is quite nice, but I don't want to take 30% repair efficiency hit. But still, I had to take one. I do not want to reduce my melee damage to 50%. Because even though the melee is programmed to just do 1-hit kills against certain enemies, no matter how high their health is, it will just not 1-hit kill them anymore. It will 2-hit kill them. And that, you can imagine, that makes my idea of try to kill as many things with melees as you can not work very well anymore. God. Sometimes you just... Yeah. This is about the point in the run where I remembered, oh yeah, I have the shield breaker. Look at all these hits I'm taking. I have the shield breaker alt fire, so why am I wasting my time? I should be, like, I forgot, I wasn't doing it then because like it's sort of hectic, but why am I wasting my time shooting the weak points of these Trixia matriarchs with my pistol, which sure is strong, but I could just boop, pop them with my shield breaker and it will just kill them. The shield breaker does much more damage than the single bullet, and multiply that by the Trixia matriarch's weak point, it'll just die. You can see I still have Absolution Disgorger. I don't have to worry. I'm still saving my keys until I start getting Quad Swarm Disgorger, and then I'll use a key and try to get a different Disgorger. So again, I have plenty of Disgorgers. I'm not using them, so whatever. I don't need to go on my way to grab more. A lot of these flyers. This is a good opportunity to just get the kills. Again, imagine if I had a 50% attack debuff, it would take 2 kills to kill each one of those. Don't want to see that. God, all this damage I'm taking. Yeah, I'm taking a lot of hits. It's a good thing my defense is so high. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean it's going to take a long time for me to recover all my health, because I got that 30% debuff to my repair efficiency. What a mess. See, this is why I can't having two malformed enemies on this specific layout is pretty brutal for me most of the time. Even if the enemies don't see you, a lot of times they're malformed attacks. In this case, you get like these weird purple fence things again. Sometimes those will mess with you, and this one isn't too bad, but like paired with the fact that they're counting on hit, and you have these little flyers flying around trying home for me, it just wasn't great. Oh look, Disgorger. I'm trying to look on the map because I see there's a health drop on the map, and malformed enemies will fairly often drop full health. Although at this point it's full health minus 30%, but still 70% health restoration is still pretty good. But I don't know where it dropped on the map. It looked like it was like in a wall or something, so I just moved on before my multiplier started taking a hit. This is another one of the rooms. It has enemies and a couple free items. There's a free small health drop in the middle. Anyway, I can take my time. You can just run around, kill the enemies. These rooms are nice because they're filled with turrets and sometimes small flyers, and you don't have to worry. You can just kill them slowly. I left that last turret there specifically because my idea, again, remember, once you teleport out of, or once you kill the last enemy in a room, if you teleport out quickly, you'll get 50 overlights, 25 if you take a little bit longer, and 10 if you take a little longer than that, or nothing if you take too long. So I left that enemy live because it was right next to the teleporter. So my idea is once I'm done with the room, once I get everything I want, I will kill the enemy and instantly teleport out, get 50 obolites, and you get points with obolites, and obolites are obolites, so why not? So you can see I grab the small health upgrade, I use it, and then I grab my big health. Yeah, unfortunately, small health isn't that much because my repair efficiency is down minus 30%. And anyway, I use it and then grab my 6 large health vials again. So, why not? I wasn't full health, so I might as well do it. Now I can run up this guy, pop him, and I don't know what I'm checking here. Pop him and just leave right away and get my 50 obolites. Oh, well, I actually took too long. I only got 25 obolites. But, that's the logic behind leaving that turret alive, If I had killed him earlier, I would have the last enemy I killed would have been much further away. Okay, there. That brought me back up to full. The last enemy I killed would have been much further away, and then I wouldn't have gotten any obolites for finishing that floor. I wonder what I'm checking. I think I'm looking at my defense to, like you saw, if you looked at pause screen really quickly, it was at my protection was 100% because I'm getting 10% protection for using an item, which lasts a little bit. Plus I have 90%, 40 from the parasites, 50 from my stats. So if you add it all up, it equals 100. When I get a melee kill on an enemy, and I don't think those towers count, it boosts by another 25%. So under the perfect right circumstances, my current character can get 125% defense, which essentially just makes attacks kind of like do a tickle to me. They don't really matter, and they're just annoying for the fact that they're still eating up my shields. Which again is why I don't want to go crazy using my shield items. I'd rather just save the 5 in my back, because if I popped all 5 right now, I would get 5 free hits. But why? Like, I'd rather just take the damage and pop the shield for when I really need them. Because again, things aren't doing a ton of damage to me. I can take hits, especially if I just got melee kill. It's not that I don't take a lot of damage. I do, but I also don't. Like, certain runs, if I didn't have those 2 defense parasites, like the amount of damage I'd be taking would be insane right now. But I do have them because this is a pretty nice run. I just got a resonant shield back up, and I go on. I got my disgorger. I got the quad swarm disgorger now, so next time I have an option to get a disgorger, I should use the key if I'm thinking to get rid of it, because I do not like the quad swarm disgorger. You can tell by the symbol on the bottom left, the red one, that is the symbol for the quad swarm one. Not a good disgorger. Like, I don't like saying things so bluntly, but like unironically, I think that the quad swarm disgorger is just worse than the other ones. Yeah, sometimes, for some reason, enemies, those heal towers kind of count as destructible objects because enemies can destroy them too, which is unfortunate because when they do destroy them, you get no points for it. So you saw earlier that Atropian turret just destroyed the tower for me, which thanks, bro, but I kind of want to do that myself. You can see my points are essentially at max, very, very, very close. 99.1, and the 100x multiplier is as high as it gets. So, yay. My multiplier is almost as high as I can get, and all I have to worry about is, maintaining it around 100. Don't let it drop too much, so I can just keep it around 100 no matter what. And I'll be good. Pick up the health. Interestingly enough, health items increase your, give you points, but resin items do not. So the ones that increase your max health and the ones that give you resonant shield will not increase your points. But if you are damaged and you pick up you don't have to be damaged, but you usually only get them when you are damaged. If you pick up a health increase in terms of a healing item, you will get points. I think it's 800 points. If I divide the multiplier, so it's 80,000 points. Right now, with the 100x multiplier, it would be 80,000 points. The reason why I look at a coil spine, by the way, it's actually the reason why I look at electropylon drivers too. Sometimes when I stop by them, I'm looking to see if they have certain abilities I can use in that room and then switch back to my weapon. The coil spine, specifically what I was looking for, is if it had adrenaline discs. If it had adrenaline discs, I would have just picked it up, shot all the eggs in the room, which has a chance of increasing my adrenaline for hitting enemies, but it also works on destructible objects. So I would pick up the coil spine, shoot all the eggs in the room, get a little bit of extra adrenaline, and then switch back to my pistol and move on. You know, I wouldn't count that a breach of my run, you know. That's fine. I'm not using it to kill enemies. And then same for the electropylon that I sometimes look over when I sort of pause over an electropylon in the run. I'm looking to see if it has Silphium Extractor for a similar reason. Silphium Extractor makes enemies have a higher chance to drop Silphium, which also means resin. If you're max health, it just makes you drop resin. If you're not at max health, it drops Silphium, which is just a healing item. But the point is, you know, I can pick the item up, destroy all the destructible objects in the room, and the destructible objects now have a chance to drop health because of that weapon. And I am 100% sure this works because I've had my best run, that 160 million points I have, you can see on the right there, that was with an Electropylon driver with that Silphium Extractor trait, among other traits. You know, that wasn't the most useful trait I had on it, but that was certainly nice. It's a great way to get resin, especially if you have a resinous shield. It's a great way to recharge that resin shield if it got used up. It's a great way to heal. So that's mostly what I'm looking for, to see if I have one of those weapons, I can just quickly take it and you know, get some health back if I have the Electropylon, or get a little bit of adrenaline back if I have the coil spine with the right trait. Destroying these towers. I'm not expecting much. The nullification sphere that gets rid of all malfunctions. It doesn't get rid of permanent malfunctions. I tried. Yeah, you can see I'm opening this chest because I had a Quasum Disgorger. I'm like, let me open this chest and get a different item. It ended up giving me another Quasum Disgorger, so that was a little, you know, a 1 in 4 chance that you're just going to get the same Disgorger you already have. But, you know, that's the point of it. You know, I'll use the keys. I'll keep looking for Disgorgers until I no longer have a Quasum Disgorger. God, these rooms. Yeah. Whenever I get to these rooms, I check how many parasites I have, and I'm like, please do not give me 5 parasites yet. So I'm actually okay with these 2 parasites. That one, it said gain 3 shields, but because I have Murmuring Cocoon, it gave me 5 shields. So you can see on the left there, Parasite Shield, I have 5 of those. So that gave me 5 shields. Now, the detriment is when those 5 shields are used up, I will get 2 malfunctions on detach. I'm actually okay with getting those types of parasites because those parasites will detach on their own once they're gone. Which means, like right now I have 5 parasites on, so if I get another parasite before I lose this 5th parasite, then it's just going to get rid of a random parasite, which I don't want. So I'm perfectly happy to just take a parasite that is going to detach on its own, regardless. The other one also had an effect that would detach on its own, I think after 25 kills, is what it read. So, you know, I'm happy with these. And usually non-permanent malfunctions aren't usually too bad. Actually, I remember what one of these permanent functions ends up being, and I think the game gets a little glitched. I'll point it out when it happens because of one of the malfunctions. A strange interaction happens, I'm not really sure why. Anyway, you can see right now I have 2 regular shields, 5 parasite shields, 1 resinous shield, and 1 adrenaline shield. So what's that, 9 shields in total I have right now? Now let's see if I can do like a speedrun world record for how quickly I can lose all 9 of those shields. You'll be shocked how quickly those disappear. Because again, when I get to rooms like this one, where there's a bunch of 1-hit kill flyers around, I'm like, I want those points. Oh god, see, this is what I mean with the hitbox on the drones. Like I'm already starting to get hit. The hitbox on the drones are just so weird. Any other flyer, when Selene closes in for the gap, except for sometimes the Lamiodons, which are like those bat flyer creatures that all they do is lunge in and attack you. And even those ones aren't nearly as bad. The hitboxes on flyers are usually pretty easy, where when Selene goes for the kill, she'll get it. Now it's to the point that's what I'm saying, you really need to be lined up with the drones, which is what makes fighting them sometimes so aggravating. If you're going for the melee kill. Just look how my shield's gonna eat, you know? I still have 6 left, but damn. I have 5 left. I have 4 left. See, like, that, any other flyer, that would have killed it. But because it's the drone, because their hitbox is a little wonky, and please, Housemarque, please fix this one day. It's just, you really, it doesn't feel as good, because every other enemy, you don't have to be super precise in your lining up when you're trying to go for the melee. You just do for the drones. The drones and the frost drones, which are actually 2 different enemies. But as far as hitbox is concerned, they're the same. Excuse me, sorry. So I enter this room with 9 shields, and I have 2 left. I mean, I didn't take damage, so that's cool, but damn, did I lose all those shields real quick. that was somewhat of me being overly reckless. No, I have one shield left. I'm not gonna lie, like, it's this counter hit thing that's not helping. And there. So there are my 2 malfunctions. I lost the 5th shield. I actually lost all the shields here, wow. I took more hits. I actually took damage. So I got the 2 malfunctions. Now, one of them, you might already notice the glitch I'm talking about, but one of them is while in midair, minus 50% weapon damage, fine, I don't care. And all I need to do is stagger hostiles, which is going to happen very, 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 very quickly. It's probably going to happen in this room. There's one staggered right there. I only need to do one more. There, now my function's gone. The other one, I need to kill hostiles simultaneously, which this isn't really the weapon for it. It can happen. Especially if you kill an enemy while a different enemy's poisoned, and you just line them up quickly enough so that they die within a very short time period within each other. You can get simultaneous deaths. So I need to kill hostiles simultaneously in order to get rid of the second malfunction, which is cannot gain adrenaline. Now, you might already notice, I've already taken damage a couple times, and my adrenaline is still at max. Yeah, I think something glitched out. Not only can I not gain adrenaline, I also apparently cannot lose it anymore. That sounds great and all. I mean, I actually would prefer to lose it. I say this glitch is actually working to my detriment. Because now that I can't... Well, I guess I wouldn't want to lose it in this case because I wouldn't be able to gain it back. So I guess actually this is to my benefit. But, you know, I should be losing adrenaline. I keep taking hits, and my adrenaline keeps not getting reset. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm pretty sure once I do clear this malfunction, because I eventually do clear it, my adrenaline can go back down to 0, which is good, because then I can start building it up back to 5 and get the shield back. So yeah, it's a little strange interaction there. I still have the quad swarm disgorger, so I'm still going to go for these doors until I no longer have the quad swarm. There, now I have the Blightwave disgorger, which it's definitely the easiest one to use, but it might just be my favorite one in general for disgorgers. Just hold on the trigger and just watch things die, kind of thing. Yeah, so you can see in these rooms, I think I messed up here. I was being very dumb. A little frustrated. I meant to jump and go back to the middle platform. That middle platform, the center one has a disgorger up there in the center of the area I just shot at. I meant to jump and not just drop down, but you know, I can't anymore. I dropped down, so I missed my chance. Anyway, there's gonna be money raining down here. Whenever you enter these rooms and there's nothing in the middle like this, it's just money that's gonna rain down. I might as well grab it. I usually get around 100, and you know, 100 each one giving me 100 points. You know, a good 10,000 experience. I mean, points. Not huge, but not awful. I also want to make sure I don't want to go for the disgorger because I already have a non-quad swarm disgorger, but I do want to go for the shield. Use my own shield, and then take the new shield, and then move on. Still, my run is still going very well. You know, I'm not max health. I have 1 shield activated. I have 5 shields in the backlog. I have 6 healths. I have survivability. Yeah, I can live, and I have very high defense, extremely high defense, especially since I'm not using a defense boosting weapon. Yeah, I'm starting to learn my lesson and starting not to shoot enemies when I'm right in front of them because this freaking counter on hit thing. Just something I got to remember. Normally, you know, when you have a weapon with serrated projectile, and this is most evident if you have a hollow seeker with serrated projectile, you really got to be careful when you shoot enemies. You need to be aware of where the enemies you shot are, because now they're going to be constantly countering you, because every single time they take a tick, I already said this, but every single time they take a tick of damage from the serrated projectile effect, which is, you can tell is an effect because their health bar turned green, they're not going to counter you, and the little bullet's going to fly towards you every single time. So you can see they're still firing bullets at me. So just be aware when you shoot enemies, when you have serrated projectiles on. It's like you don't just shoot them once and then don't worry about it anymore because they're not going to keep countering you. No, they're going to keep countering you until the damage over time effect ends. So yeah, just be aware of that. All right, moving on. We have another healing tower floor. You notice these healing tower floors are pretty common. This is a nice floor here. I'm missing a bit, but not a big deal. My multiplier barely went down. This is another nice floor where, you know, just a lot of one-hit kill enemies, and as long as I don't shoot them with my gun, then I don't have to worry about them countering on hit. They will not counter on hit because I'm not firing anything. And the melee hits do not make them counter. And now because I don't have those two other permanent debuffs I talked about, permanent malfunction I talked about, the hostiles leaving pools of acid and hostiles exploding on death, like I don't have to worry about that happening, which are usually the most detrimental if you kill enemies with melees, but now I don't have to worry about them exploding in my face when I melee them, so yeah, melee to my heart's content. Yeah, now I'm getting to the point that I should really start dealing with this very quickly. This Proto-Titan Ops is causing trouble. It's not a malformed enemies, but there's two of them. So, you know, get rid of the healing tower and then deal with them. I'm still running around because too late now, it blew up. But I was still hoping to get the melee kill on the healing tower. You know, I advocate for certain advice, not getting overly focused on getting melee kills on every single enemy, and yet you can see me running around in the footage doing just that. Which is costing me to get hit a lot more times than I need to. Yeah, well, I was hoping that the poison would have finished him off right there, so that I could just instantly teleport out, which now I just did. Got those 50 obolites because I teleported out very, very quickly. Again, the 50 obolites don't really matter. You know, look how much money I have now. But you know, more obolites is more money, and I mean, obviously, it's more points I meant to say. So why not? Unfed pod I do want. And, you know, 20% stagger power per parasite, so if I have 5 parasites, that's plus 100% stagger power. Just looking at which ones to get rid of. I'm pretty sure it's the one where if I get hit, my cooldown gets reduced. I'm pretty sure I still have that somewhere. If I don't, I might get rid of the the one I'm hovering over there. Let's see. Yeah, getting hit reduces all fire cooldown for 5 seconds. That should be the one I get rid of. Oh, no, I get rid of getting and fixing malfunction, repairs integrity. That's a good option too. A critical malfunction, which is what I'm going to be getting every time I defeat Algus, because I already have the 5 permanent malfunctions. Those critical malfunctions don't count towards healing me. You can see I got rid of the other item so I can get the fractal nail item. So actually, somehow I went through this entire run without finding this item, so that's just, you know, 10% damage as long as I have malfunction, and I always have malfunction at this point, so it's just 10% extra damage. So yeah, I got rid of both the items I was talking about. So my artifact pool is looking more and more complete. Again, that's me looking for Silphium Extractor. It doesn't have it, so, you know, move on. I mean, I destroyed almost every object in that room anyway, so there wasn't really much to look for Silphium on anyway. Again, I wouldn't have kept that item for the run. I would have just used it for that room, destroyed some statues or eggs or whatever, and then moved on. God. Please fix the way these drones work. It's just slightly frustrating to not being able to kill them because the hitboxes are so wonky. Anyway, there I got a bunch of good ones in a row there. There's still one behind me I can see on the map. Yeah, there it is. So just kill this one and then just shoot the other ones. Oh, got a good shield breaker on his weak point there. And don't be afraid to use shield breaker to just hit enemies. It's a strong attack. Period. It's just a strong attack that has the added benefits of being able to break shields. But just because an enemy doesn't have shields, I mean you can't use it. You know, they made it strong for a reason. It's not as effective on weak points as a kill sight is, but it's still very, very good. And honestly, easier to use than kill sight because the kill sight zooms in way too far most of the time for my likings. Plus, if you don't hit the weak point with kill sight, your damage is actually not very good. Got a full heal there. Gotta pop my shield item, grab the new shield item, and move on. 70 million points right now. You know, I'm not exactly close to my record, but not exactly doing badly either. So a room with a bunch of these guys, you know, oh God, that was very dumb of me. Shooting. This is like I keep forgetting. Like, do not shoot these guys when you're right up to them. Just either shoot them from far away, which I think I'll do to this guy eventually, like that. Shoot them from far away and let their little counter hits do their thing away from you, or you know, don't shoot them. Yeah, you see I used a shield break on a weak point there to almost kill them. Like, that's something I should just remember, you know, be aware of what your alt fire is, and what it can do. So this guy, he's going to start getting staggered soon. There he is, he's staggered. Now I should go for the weak point. I missed. Oops me. I mean, I hit him, but I didn't hit his weak point, so it didn't do that much damage. Or it didn't Well, it did the same damage it would always do. It just, this enemy has absurd amounts of health. There, I got it the second time. Yeah, you can see my ult fire comes back very quickly. So since I have 5 adrenaline, which is reducing my ult fire by 5 seconds because of my adrenaline coolant artifact. And I also have that parasite that I very foolishly picked up that's reducing my cooldown by another 4 seconds. So my cooldown is actually 11 seconds as long as I have 5 adrenaline. Which my adrenaline right now cannot go down because of this weird glitch interaction between my non-permanent malfunction and my adrenaline. So I mean that's cool. I mean I guess I would prefer for it not to go down because it won't be able to go back up until this malfunction is gone. You can see somewhere along the line I was looking at the firearms. I didn't end up switching the firearm. I prefer the one I still have. Do I switch it? Ricochet, shrapnel, piercing, serrated. A bad version serrated, which I believe, if you saw my weapons video, the actual damage per tick of the serrated isn't any worse, but the higher the serrated projectile stat, the more times you can stack the serrated projectiles, because you can't stack it into infinity. Like if you shoot an enemy like 20 times before the first serrated runs out, you're not gonna have 20 stacks of serrated projectiles on the same enemy. It only goes up so far. I think it's like 3 or 4 bullets for serrated projectile 1, and then more on higher traits. I don't know how much more though. But yeah, I prefer to keep my current one. I think overall its traits are better. You know, they both have problem traits in terms of traits that are at level 1. Neither of them have homing missile, which is a little unfortunate that I've gone this whole tower without finding a single high level sidearm, or any sidearm for that matter. I believe with the 375,000 experience for killing that thing, or any sidearm with a homing missile trait. So a little unfortunate there. This is a room that gives you a free stat upgrade item, but there's no items because all my stats are at max. But you know, you still get a free key for doing them. So that's another thing about those rooms. Even if those rooms have something you don't want, you'll still get a key for it, and the key essentially is a free discorder, or will turn into a free discorder once you find a chest or a door. You gotta love these rooms with these tripod enemies. The easiest, next to turrets, you know, they're the best enemies for getting melee kills on. Just jump in melee. I'm always happy to see those, because then I don't have to think like, oh my god, how am I gonna... And I do see that tripod across the room, like, no, don't die. And luckily the thing... I'm taking so many hits to just try to get those points. God. 2 malformed Arcanacts, I think is what they're called. Again, the fact that they're malformed, like the fact that they're malformed enemies have more health than their non-malformed counterparts, and the fact they don't get staggered is also annoying. But the biggest problem is just the extra shit that they come with. The extra malformed attacks. These ones I'm pretty safe for hiding from, because they don't seem to have anything that can get to me from behind cover, so that's cool. But you know, it's always a mixed bag. Anyway, they dropped a bunch of health, so go around, grab all the health, and get out of here. 76 million points. So you can see, last time I actually acknowledged the points was the 70 million, so you can see my points are going up very high, very quickly at this point. So, like, even though I'm not even halfway to the 160 million, and that was a very good run, don't get me, like, for me, that was a very good run. So, you know, it should take a lot of effort to get to the 160 million. But being able to, you know, it doesn't seem by any means impossible to get to 160 million. I could see myself reaching it with this setup perfectly reasonably, provided I play well and I stop getting hit so many times. So, you know, don't get discouraged. Like, you know, if you have your own favorite weapons, great. Use your favorite weapons. Use the ones you're most tuned to. But, you know, I'd say every weapon can be viable. Although I've yet to test the limits of the Spit Maw Blaster once you have the hostiles counter on hit permanent malfunction. So, you know, maybe that might pose more of a problem. But, you know, maybe there's ways to work around it. I'd have to see once I get to it. I will say I have trouble imagining the wide maw trait on the Spit Maw Blaster being utilized very well. Because with the Y mod trait, you really want to be pretty much right up to an enemy. And if you're that close to an enemy when you shoot them, you're just going to get blasted in the face. But, you know, if I decide to keep doing these videos, you know, the next weapon after this I do is Carbine, and the weapon after that I do is Spitmaw. So, you know, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see just how viable the Spitmaw is at higher tower levels. But for any other weapon, I can see them working perfectly fine at higher tower levels. Again, yeah, I fell by accident, but luckily you can clutch it with the... oh yeah, I popped a Disgorger, look at that! This is the Absolution Disgorger. It's just a really strong beam. You know, you really gotta be careful when you take those teleporters, because when you come back like this, like you just... I think this is the worst room in the game. The worst setup. The worst layout for me in the game. No other layout gives me more trouble because there's just not as many places to hide here, and it's very easy to fall off. It's just a difficult room. But you know, it's made even worse when you take the little teleporter. Ooh, a little teleport guy. You kill him, and you take the teleport, and then you come back, and every enemy is now there, and you're completely surrounded. And this one was even worse because it was filled with mycomorphs and malformed enemies, and you know those are a good way to lose all your shields very, very quickly. You know, a room with, by the way, these are level 24 enemies, and you can still see the damage they're doing to me is pretty pitiful. Especially since I keep getting kills on these guys, so my protection 25% protection increase keeps getting reset. So don't underestimate protection. You would be surprised how much more damage you would take with even like 10, 20, 30% less protection. You would be surprised how much more damage you'll take. It is not 10, 20, 30% more, it is much more than that. So yeah, don't underestimate the protection. So, yeah, this last enemy, just finishing him off and then moving on. At 80 million now, so I'm slightly over halfway to my record, my best. So yay me. Another Algus fight. You know, it's been the same fight since I got to Phase 4 Algus, so Phase 4, 5, 6, and now Phase 7 version of Algus is just the same fight, just with more health and presumably doing more damage to you every single time. But, you know, Algus gives, God, how many points does Algus give you? This form of Algus, which is called Infinity Form, which is one I just had been fighting since Phase 4, I believe gives you 10,750 points. I don't know why it's such a weird specific number like that, but 10,750 points is pretty good because at a 100 multiplier that gives you, you know, over 1 million points. So, you know, just pay attention to the points when I do kill Algus. If you are paying attention, you'll see it's gonna go up by over 1 million when I do finally kill him. I don't think you can like melee kill Algus. I sort of tried it. I tried like jumping into the middle of the map and going for a melee, but I can't really hit him. If there is a way to do it, that'd be cool. And if the game somehow accounts for that, and like getting a melee kill on Algus, like if it somehow multiplies the number of points you get by like 5, and you suddenly get 5 million points for killing Algus, that would be phenomenal. But I honestly don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's something you can do. Like the same way, like hitting Algus's eyeball, which is this weak point, does take more damage for hitting the eyeball. I don't think gives you any more points for killing it by hitting the eyeball and killing it for any other reason. Anyway, pay attention to the points. How many I'm going to get right now? Yep, 1,075,000, which is, you know, 10,750 times 100. So I was right about the points. Yeah, okay, so I lost the recharging overload artifact, which is the one that allows me to reduce my ult fire cooldown by 3 seconds every time I overload my weapon. So whatever, I don't really care. I'm not overloading all that much, honestly. Ooh, another health vial. Large health vial. How many do I have now? 7. And there's a recharging overload artifact. I actually opt not to buy it, because that would put me down below 600, which isn't a big deal, but, you know, I don't really... My ult fire isn't really something I'm having trouble keeping up with, especially since I'm apparently permanently at maximum adrenaline at this point, until I get rid of this malfunction, which eventually will happen, I promise. But because of that, because I'm permanently at maximum adrenaline, and because I had a parasite, again, my cooldown's reduced by 9 seconds, and this is a 20-second cooldown, so it's just an 11-second cooldown effectively. So 11 seconds for a cooldown on a weapon is on a O5 is very, very short. Another room with Mycomorphs. These the first room or two you find on each phase is usually a pretty mild room. Like there's not too many enemies. Like a few dogs or a few Mycomorphs, and that's usually it. It's only one enemy type. They don't usually like spawn into the enemy after you. So you know, I take the calm. I let it. I rail in a little bit. For some reason, that one dropped resin. So that's why I say usually when you're not at full health, you'll just get health, and usually when you are at full health, you won't get health. You'll get resin. But that was an example where I wasn't at full health, but he gave me a maximum health upgrade instead, and I'm already at maximum health. But you know, it's still nice because it did give me the resin shield instead. So I'm happy to take it. It's just I don't know why it gave me it. It should have given me a health item instead. So again, this is one of the earlier rooms, so it's just these trichozoids. I don't know why I'm healing that guy. I really should just shoot the guy a couple times and then just hide behind a cover or something. Which hopefully I'll do eventually, maybe? I'll kill this guy first, I guess. I should just shoot him and then hide. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I not doing that? I'm being silly. Yeah, there we go. And of course, dumb me, I just back up in a straight line, allowing the counter hits to hit me. But yeah, shooting him and then hiding is what I should be doing. Because that's damage that comes out much... Oh god, getting hit. Comes out much more quickly than if I just go up to him and melee them very, very slowly. For 60 damage, or 78 damage if he's at low health because of the Wound Seeker artifact I have. So yeah, it's more okay to melee these ones because when you break the shield, they take like 3/4, or they take like 75 to 80% of their health just for breaking the shield. So it's much easier to just melee them down all the way. And we just saw 300,000 experience just for killing that guy. So yep, making steady progress on the experience front. Okay, now I'm starting to get nervous about these parasites. Don't want that one because I don't want to reduce melee. Find salvage from hostiles more often, and one additional kill required to increase adrenaline. Now, my adrenaline is stuck not being increased anyway because of this non-permanent malfunction, but more than that, even if it wasn't that case, I just don't want to reduce my melee by 50%. Period. Ever. I just never want to do that. I mean, there are some malfunctions, which I think are worse than that, or some parasite debuffs that I think are actually worse than that, but not many. The one that greatly increases melee and dash cooldown I think is worse, and honestly that might be the only one that I think is worse. I think every other one besides that might actually be preferable. So you do see me, like I was taking advantage of the I did earlier with the shield breaker. It's a little hectic right now, so I don't have time to use my shield breaker on the other guy. I think I will probably eventually once I have a moment to like not be dealing with all these dogs. Deal with this last dog, and then once this last guy's stagger bar goes back down to empty, I can start building it up again. They're starting to build up because of the poison, and then I can just snipe them. There we go. And then move on. Okay, we have one of these bridge rooms. Just waiting for something to spawn. They started to spawn right now. I don't really see them, but there we go. Very nice. The gyropods. These are probably the easiest aerial enemies to deal with. They tend to hover low to the ground. Their attacks aren't the kind of attacks that just snuff you when you're trying to get melee kills on them, because they're not long lasting and they kind of take a long time to charge, especially the red attack. They have two attacks, which I think of them as like the blue attack and the red attack because that's the color they glow before they use it. The red attack comes out very slowly. It is the worst of the two attacks. It does more damage and it lasts longer, and it's easier to hit you, and I feel like I get hit with it more often, but it does take longer to come out. So if you see one of them charging up the red attack, you usually have plenty of time to just run up to them and just melee them before he comes out. Then yeah, just deal with these two. Deal with the two automatons. I notice they have low... Yeah, for some reason automatons in this room tend to get... When automatons spawn in the bridge room, they... the one always spawns in the middle, and one always gets stuck in the middle like that. Kind of funny, but, you know, At least he's not chasing me. So, if anyone's paying attention, and if anyone is watching this video and looking at the timer left on the video, you might be thinking, there's not a whole lot of time left in this video. And I don't really feel like this run's going that badly. What is going to happen to cut this video short? I don't think you're going to have to wait too much longer to find out the answer. But just let's say what goes wrong is me. I'm stupid sometimes. But, you know, I'm not going to spoil it. But just point is, there's lessons to be made or to be learned from my playthrough. And hopefully I will get better about these sort of things. I do buy an item. I might as well try I got a very good item out of it, and so I'll try buying another one. The first one's 75, next one's 125, and just goes up by 50 every single time. I don't care about that item, let's just move on. I could just take it and then dump it, but that would require me to dump a different item for another shot at buying another item. But they get progressively more expensive, so I don't need to stay there farming items. I only have so much money anyway, and I want to keep my money above 600. Anyway, I came back to a full room, but this one isn't as awful. These rooms in general, if you get a good rhythm going, you can cycle between the high ground, which is where I am, and hiding behind a pillar, which is where I will be heading. So, you know, you can stay relatively safe in this room as long as you cycle between those areas. Again, I'm learning my lesson. Do not go for the melee kills on these dogs that I just shot. They're just begging to get a counter hit into the face. Surprised, God, I still have this cannot gain adrenaline debuff. This one lasted me a while. I'm not even sure if it was that much of a detriment, honestly. I mean, I am taking a lot of extra hits, but my damage isn't even that high. Well, there we go. I took that hit. Yeah, God, that is one very annoying thing to remember. Okay, if you're fighting a severed enemy, and they are doing that teleport where you see the line appear attached to your character, attached to Celine, like right here, and then they show up, and all you have to do is dodge out of the way. They give you plenty of time between when they appear and you can dodge. If they have serrated projectile, if you have like a serrated projectile trait or like thermite rockets on the thermogenic launcher, or serrated projectiles on the Hollow Seeker, and they are currently attached to it, keep in mind that once they teleport, they are still taking the serrated projectile damage, and they might teleport right next to you, and a counter hit might show up instantaneously, making it like there. I dodged at that time, but making it pretty impossible to dodge the red orb. Just be aware of that. So just be ready to dodge as soon as they show up. If you have serrated projectiles on the enemy, like the serrated projectile just ran out there, so I didn't have to actually worry about it, but it's just something to be aware of. And I know I'm killing this enemy very, very, very slowly. That's partially because I'm not doing... Yeah, there. Another counter hit got to me, and I fell. Yay. If you actually looked at how little my health dropped when that happened, it was extremely small, and I wasn't even getting a 25% defense bonus. So yeah, just be aware of that. Is essentially what I'm trying to say. Serrated projectiles can be... You have to... I don't think serrated projectiles is a bad trait if you're once you have your 5th permanent debuff with a hostile counter or hit. You just have to be very aware and very careful. I think serrated projectiles is actually a fantastic trait, actually, and it exists on a Hollow Seeker, and there's a version of it that's called thermite rockets, which exists on the thermogenic launcher, and I think they're fantastic. You just need to be aware of it. You need to be very aware of what you're getting into. Anyway, this is another one of those item no rush rooms. I'll take the interference sphere, which disables turrets, pop it, and then take everything else. There is a turret at the end of this room. It's a single turret, but you know, whatever. I might as well take it because I'm not taking the item with me. I'll take the item, pop it, and then just take my other items back. So now the turret at the very, 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 very end of the room will just not be activated. Again, because I don't have to worry about timer in this room, I can hop to the island over there and then instantly run away and let the flyers come to me, which is what I'm essentially just doing. I'm just baiting them to like go back and forth to just, hey guys, come find me, you know, come to me so that I can melee you. That's essentially what I'm doing. I know it's very slow, but I want the points. And just pay attention to my points. I'll like 250,000 points every time I kill one. There, I shot at the ground. You just saw that trick I just did there. So he had those shots going on, which makes it very hard to go for a melee hit without taking a hit yourself. So I shot at the ground, I let my little homing shots hit him, and the homing shots instantly staggered him, so that his attack would just stop. I didn't have to wait for his attack to end. And that attack that I interrupted actually took quite a while. So instead of waiting for it to end, especially in rooms where your multiplier can go down, instead of waiting for it to end, just shoot to the ground like I just did right there. Unfortunately, he took a serrated hit too, because my shot bounced, which is a little unfortunate. But, you know, I got what I wanted. See, I have 4 keys, and I'm like, I could open these, but why? I have 25 disgorges, and I just don't need it. Oh, actually, I got rid of my debuff. I can now gain adrenaline, which means my adrenaline actually went back down to 0 after I got hit after I lost that one. But you can see my adrenaline starts building up again, so yeah. Somewhere along the line, I must have killed 2 enemies in very quick succession. Just kind of happens without me realizing it. With different weapons, it happens much more easily. Like, if you have a coil spine with retarget, for example, then you're bound to just... as long as you're willing to kill smaller enemies and lose the potential points, you can get rid of that trait very easily. Or just, like, popping the Absolution Disgorger, which is the Disgorger I have right now. That just has an insane area effect. Yeah, you can see, I was thinking, like, do I melee him? I was like, no, I don't have the damage for it anyway, so I just shoot him and then run away. Yeah, the guy used my shield breaker to actually break a shield there. Yeah, yay me. I can use my weapon to break the shield, but again, I have to empty my clip, reload, which I just did, and now my weapon can break shields for 6 seconds. You can really see the counter hitting thing is you can see why it's so detrimental. Like, ever since I got that malfunction, I feel like 70% of the hits I've been taking, maybe more, have been because of the counter hits, and not because of the enemies actually hitting me with their natural attacks. Okay, those towers don't counter hit, and I aim for the weak point because, you know, the weak point does give me more points than if I didn't hit the weak point. So, like, I might not be getting the aerial melee kill, but I am getting something. So yay me. And here's me taking 1,000,000 hits. 1,000,000 freaking hits. Luckily, my defense is insanely high, and I'm afraid. I mean, not afraid. I am allowed to not be a very good player because my protection's so high. Yeah, and for all my knowledge of the game, I'm still making pretty awful choices. Like, shooting these guys and hanging around between them while this serrated projectile forces me to take counter hits. So, anyway, the Gorgulus enemies I'm fighting, as I mentioned, the game has a way to deal with them. And that way is, every single time you stagger them, if you keep hitting them, and I'm not really exactly sure where you have to hit them, but if you keep hitting them after they're staggered, and it doesn't really seem like you even have to hit the weak point, but if you hit them a few times after they're staggered, they're just going to take an extra 1,000 damage on top of it, period. They just take 1,000 damage, just randomly. So you stagger them, they start running away from you for a few moments after the stagger. You should see it here. Well, he didn't, but because I did it too quickly. But I hit him, he gets staggered, and then I keep hitting him, and he just takes 1,000 damage on top of the damage he's already taking. So that's sort of like the built-in way to deal with the Gorgulith. That extra 1,000 damage becomes less and less effective the higher you climb up the tower, because, like, you can see how much health he has. I would say the Strixia Matriarch, which is the enemy that is tied for as much health for it, has an easier way to deal with it that scales up with the tower. It's just the weak point just takes like 28 times more damage or something like that. Whereas this one, the weak point, you know, its weak point, which is his head, does take more damage, but it's not like more, it's not noticeably more damage than other enemies tend to take on the weak points. The extra 1,000 damage is nice, but, you know, eventually the Gorgulith starts taking longer and longer to kill, just because, you know, this 1,000 damage isn't scaling up. Its health goes up higher and higher and higher and higher as you climb the tower, but the amount of damage you do for hitting it while staggered does not go up. I still check these artifacts that I have it, although I don't really... Yeah, well, recharging Overload I might as well take, because that's the item I lost from the critical malfunction. But I'm not usually expecting much. Let's see if I get any sidearms. No sidearms, so just keep moving. My health could use a bit of a pick-me-up. Would be nice. God, every time I see the white enemies, I gotta think for a second. And I'm very afraid to shoot anything right now. Normally I would be shooting as I go, but like if I start shooting as I go, all I get is the key, because the permanent stat upgrades in this room are just not here. So I went for this room, all I'm getting is a key out of it. I mean, I get the melee kill on the guy, which is nice. But now I have to come back to the other room with a full enemy. You can see I popped my Absolution Disgorger before I came back, so I can just do this and just like deal with enemies really quickly. Like this prep, like this is what Disgorgers are good for. Like you need to knowing what you're getting into. So like I just popped a bunch of those broken automaton enemies, so they're no longer gonna be chasing me around the map trying to explode on top of me. Still taking some of this though. I really should be hiding behind a pillar. I mean, this room is a little bit hard to hide, and this isn't the best. I would say this enemy / room combination is a little bit rough because of the way that those flying enemies that just killed the way their attack works makes it sort of hard to hide from them in this room. But you know, I dealt with it to some degree. I didn't die, so yay. 95 million points. You know, getting there. God, yeah. This is kind of the situation I'm afraid of. Increased proficiency rate by 20%. Suffer damage when picking up items. I forgot what the other one was, but these are both parasites I don't want, and I have 5 parasites. I'm looking at my 5 parasites. I'm like, what am I going to lose? There's certain parasites the only parasites I don't want to lose are protection parasites. You can see it on the right. I have plus 90% protection, which can go up to plus 125 if I pop an item and I have a melee kill recently. And I'm just like, please do not make me lose 20%. Both of these sound awful. I don't want hostiles loot pools upon death. And I don't want to suffer damage when picking up items. I don't actually remember which one I went for. But because I don't really care about both of the benefits are essentially non-benefits for me. I don't really care about either of them. Especially the proficiency one. That doesn't do anything for me. I'm already at max proficiency. But the only thing I'm saying is like which one. Yeah. That one did damage to me as soon as I pick it up because this detriment actually activates on itself. So I noticed here the one I lost is the one that gives me plus 20% protection. I still have one parasite that gives me 20% protection, but now I lost 20% protection. And you will notice very quickly, I went from plus 90% protection, now I'm down to plus 70%. Pay attention to when I get hit, just how much more damage I start taking. Whereas before, enemies weren't doing all that much damage to me, it's noticeable. So yeah, this is what I mean. Where parasites are like the biggest luck factor. I mean, obviously, if I just just don't get hit scrub, but yeah, I'm not a god player, not perfect, far from it, or I'm far from the best player in this game, I'm sure. So that's just what happens. I mean, I'm not getting hit yet, and even how much more damage I take takes me by surprise. So that was a counter hit. If you saw how much damage a counter does, counter hits are actually quite weak. I mean, granted, it's a level 27 counter hit, so it still does good damage because these are level 27 enemies. But that was quite a lot of damage for a counter hit, which is a weak attack. A strong attack will do a lot more than that. Actually, one update they did to the tower while I deal with these enemies. Well, actually, I'll talk about it later because I'm pretty sure. Just pay attention to the footage before I start going on my rant. There we go. I died. Instant. So, if you were paying attention to the footage, or on what's on screen, and I think I'm going to pull it up to have a visual aid, you should see it pretty soon. Okay, yeah, so I slowed it down a bit, but I have 5 shield items, 23 Disgorgers, and 8 health vials. Now, if I was smart, and partially, it's just 100% on me, but also I didn't realize just how much a 20% decrease in my defense would obliterate me. It was pretty bad. I should have picked up the health drop right there. God, that's unfortunate. But yeah, I'm about to get tagged very soon, I think, in about 2 seconds. Where is it? Where is the attack? Is it not yet? Here it goes. Death. It tagged like her left foot. Anyway, this is back to normal speed, current run, just to see a look at, my high score, how I did. Not my high score, but my score. So, it wasn't a bad run by any means. I was like 90 million or something. Like close to 100 million, I believe. Let's see. 90 plus 95 million. Yeah. Now, it's going to say 15. or 16. Okay, well, I guess my high score is now 16, not 15. But that's reflective of my best run. There I am, Rakushun4176. That's my name on PlayStation. But yeah, you know, don't forget to use your items. Don't hoard them. Anyway, I hope this was interesting. I hope this was fun. I might do this again. I don't know if it would be before my next real video. Again, I'm focusing on enemies. Maybe I'll do one more. I'm definitely going to work on my next video even more before I decide to do another one of these. But this is sort of an easier video for me to upload, just to have something go up on my channel in the meantime. Hope it was interesting. If I do this again, it will be for the carbine. I'm just going to go through them in order. And you know, the next weapon is the tachyomatic carbine. So that would be the next weapon. So whether my next video is that or my actual proper edited video, you know, hopefully you guys will look forward to it. So thank you for watching. Bye.